Okay, I can see the chats now. Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening, all of you. Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Am I audible? Please tell me. Everyone, guys, am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Am I audible? Is my screen visible? Everyone, that is great. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, and I welcome back you guys again to the HTML CSS essential session. And yesterday we completed HTML, and today we are going to start CSS. And I would just like to inform you that today's session will be a little longer. So I really hope that you guys are prepared for it. Okay, so today's session may go like till 8 o'clock or maybe 8:15. So I really hope you guys are prepared for it, everyone. So good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the HTML CSS Essentials. Okay, and I welcome like all of you to it again. Okay, I can see the chats now. And I think there were few people asking what is the date, like last date of submission of assignment. I think it is. Wait, I think Jyotsna gave the answer, right? Um, yep, it's 14th August. So the deadline for the assignment is 14th August. So everyone who is like asking what is the last date of submission, the assignment submission date is 14th August. So by 14th August, try to submit all of your assignments. Okay. Okay, that's cool. So guys, everyone, are we ready? Because today we are going to start with CSS. So everyone, please tell me, are we ready and are we excited? Everyone, come on, tell me. Show some excitement in the chat, everyone. Come on. Are we ready? So where is yesterday's assignment? It is in the community. It is in that group only. Yeah. Uttam, it is in the group. So don't worry. You can still like go after the session today itself. Go after the session and you'll see it. It's there only. I posted it yesterday in the night. Okay. Okay. That's really cool. So everyone is excited. That is amazing. Ganesh is asking display not clear. I think there might be some internet issue at your place, Ganesh. So just wait for some times. Maybe the internet issue will be resolved for you and then it will work because I'm also like watching it on YouTube and it's like completely clear. So it might be the internet issue. Okay. Okay, that is really cool. So let's get started. So yesterday we finished up at forms. Okay, so like we almost completed all the HTML components. Now we know how to create tables. Now we know how to create forms. We know how to create paragraphs. We know how to create headings. We know how to put images, audios, videos in the web page. So like we know almost all the things about HTML. And today we will start with CSS. And also today is our last session. So we'll also learn CSS and we'll also try to create something out of it. Okay, because today is our last session. So the session may go a little longer. So be prepared for it, everyone. So what is Z index and in what cases we can use that? It is used whenever you apply positions, Leela Kumari. You use Z index whenever you apply positions like absolute and fixed and relative sometimes. Yeah. So whenever you go for position, you use Z index. And it's basically used to like rearrange your elements. Okay. Basically, when you use positions, the element come on top of each other. Okay. So if you want to rearrange them, like if you want to send some element in the back or if you want to bring some element in the front, in that case, you can use Z index. Okay, that is cool. Now let's get started then. Today actually we are going to start with something called as CSS. Okay, because we have completed forms yesterday. So directly we are going to start with CSS and then we'll also try to create something. Okay, but before doing anything, let's start with the thing that we always do. We first try to understand whatever we are going to learn. Okay, so now we know what is HTML. Now today we also have to understand what is CSS, and it's quite simple. Okay, so let's try to understand what exactly is CSS. Will you complete animation topic 2? Let's see how much time we get. If we get time, yeah, definitely I'll try to do it. I'll try to do everything. Okay, but let's see how much time we have. I always confuse in pseudo class. Don't worry, Ankit, it will be cleared today. Don't worry. Okay, so now guys, today's topic, or today we are actually starting with something called as CSS. Okay, so what is CSS first of all? So first of all, I would like to tell you the full form. So the full form is cascading style sheet. And don't mind my spelling. If I am like incorrect somewhere, don't mind the spellings. Okay, so CSS basically stands for cascading style sheet. Okay, what is it? It's simply a language. Just like HTML, it's again a language, but it's a styling language. It's a styling language that works with HTML. or works on the HTML elements. And what it does, it helps, like basically it applies style to the HTML element. And when I say apply style, that means it helps HTML element to grow in size. Basically, it helps in sizing, coloring, movement, and arrangement, like in complete designing. Okay, so basically when you create HTML elements, we know, like when we create HTML elements, they are normally black and white, and they are created on the left side of the page. Okay, what if I want to move my elements here and there? What if I want to arrange them? What if I want to change the size of the element? And that's where we have something called as CSS. So CSS is a styling language which works on HTML elements, and what it does, it gives sizing, coloring, movement, arrangement to the elements. And basically it makes your HTML elements and in all your web page look good. So that's what CSS does. It's simply nothing but a styling language. Just like your HTML was a markup language, CSS is a styling language, but it works with HTML. It never works alone. This is the language that never works alone. It works with HTML. So it works on the HTML elements, and what it does, it styles them, sizes them, colors them, arranges them, moves them. Basically, by using CSS, you can work on the elements, you can give them size, you can arrange them here and there on the screen, you can make them big, you can make them small, and at the end, you can make them look good. And don't worry, you're going to learn all of that today. Okay? Yes, I'm planning on that. I'm planning on that. Okay, guys, so are we cleared with the concept here? Are we cleared with the concept? So CSS basically will help you design your web page. So you create your elements using HTML, but you style them using CSS. And basically you combine HTML and CSS, and that's how you create a good looking web page. Because with only HTML, you can only create elements. Okay, so by using CSS, you can style those elements. Okay, and when you combine HTML and CSS, that's when you can actually make a good looking web page. CSS 3 topics also we are learning today. Yes, we are only learning CSS 3. Okay, we are actually learning CSS 3, so don't worry. Okay, guys, so can we start? Have we understood the concept of what is CSS? Is it cleared? So now I hope if anyone asks you in future what is CSS, you might be able to tell him. You might be able to tell what is CSS. Okay, everyone? That's cool. That is cool. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Anurag is saying, but all languages use CSS. No, which languages use CSS other than HTML? Is Java using CSS? Because CSS works with HTML elements. And also sometimes when you like are in X, when you're working with XHTML, that's it. Okay. And maybe in some like some other development part, there are few things which are also called as CSS. But not all languages use CSS. Not all languages use CSS. CSS is mainly for the web. Okay. There are some languages that look like CSS and work in different scenarios. Okay, that's cool. So now let's get started. Okay. And for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some new files, and I would like to show you how to start writing CSS. And it's really simple. Okay. So first of all, let me create a new file here. So let me name it third.html. LCSS. It's nothing, Yashwant Kumar. It's simple. It's simply a styling language that works with HTML and helps you to style your HTML elements like size, color, arrangement, movement, and all of that. That's what CSS does. And you will see all of that today. Don't worry. You'll see and you'll understand all of that today. Now, now we know what is CSS and what it is going to do. But how to do it? First of all, we have to understand how to write CSS. Okay, first of all, we have to understand how to write CSS, and then we'll see how to apply it on the HTML elements. So there are two things we have to understand, guys. First, we have to understand how to write CSS. And second, we have to understand how to apply CSS on the HTML elements, or how to tell the CSS that you have to get applied on this particular HTML element. How to connect the HTML element and the CSS. That's what we have to learn. So there are two steps that we have to learn. First, how to write it. Second, how to apply it on the elements. So let's learn the first thing first, how to write CSS. So now there's a basic syntax. Just like whenever you learn a new language, you first understand how to write it basically, right? And that's what we're going to learn today, how to write CSS basically. So remember, guys, the syntax of CSS is like this. CSS is always written in a property value format. CSS is always written in a property value format like this. You write the property name, colon, value, and at the end you can put a semicolon. Just like this. Property, Remember that, guys. Property, whatever property you want, and then the value, and then semicolon. And when I say that I want to learn CSS, that means I have to learn what are the different properties that I have and what values can I apply to those properties. Now, just to give an example so that you're not confused, a property can be width and a value can be 200 pixels. A property can be color and a value can be red, like this, just like this. Okay, so these are the examples. Okay, Deepak, okay, no problem, buddy. Let me see. I actually talked to the team, but let me just talk to them once again, because we have actually unlisted it from YouTube and now it's in only in the community. Okay, so let me see if I can do something for you. Like, can I, like, I can basically add you in that batch where we had that CSS session. So let me see what I can do for it, Deepak. Okay, so guys, simple property colon value format. Okay, and the example is like, if width is a property, then 200 pixel is a value. If color is a property, then red can be a value. And just like this, we have to learn what are the different properties, like how many properties are there and what they do and what can be the value of a particular property. And these are a few examples. Okay, so that's what learning CSS means. You simply learn how many properties are there and what do they do and what can be the values. This is what you learn in CSS. Okay, so you always write CSS in property value format. There's no other format. Property value, that's it. Property value, please remember it, guys. Okay, now that's it. That's the basic thing. Now, this was the first step. Now what is the second step? Let me just remove this. Why am I writing extra thing? Yeah, so this is this and this is nothing but the example. Okay, so let me comment all of this. Let me comment all of this now. Okay, so now we know how to write CSS. We are going to learn property and value. Simple. Okay, now how to apply CSS. How to tell a particular CSS that you have to apply on this particular HTML element. Like how I'm going to tell that, okay, fine, you have to apply on P tag, you have to apply on H1 tag, you have to apply on table tag, you have to apply on input tag. How I'm going to tell my CSS. So now let's learn that thing. Okay. So there are basically three ways in which you can apply CSS to HTML elements. There are basically three ways in which you can apply CSS to HTML elements, and they have names. So the three ways are: one is the internal way, so you also call it internal CSS. The next is actually the first one is inline way, so you also call it inline CSS. And then you have the internal way, to that you call it internal CSS. And there's the last way, the most used way, that is external way, that is also called as external CSS. So this is basically the name of three ways by which you can apply CSS to HTML elements: inline way, internal way, external way. And the first thing that we'll learn today is all of this. Okay, so remember these two steps, guys. First is CSS is always written in property and value format. That's it, always. And there are three ways in which you can apply CSS to elements. These are the three ways. And now let's start learning how to actually do it. Okay, so I hope you understood the basics, everyone. Guys, are we clear with the definition? Are we, like, have we understood the basics now? Can we start applying it now, everyone? Don't worry. In today's session, we'll see almost like all the good properties, all the important properties, and how to apply it on the elements, all of that. Okay. Okay. Now let's move ahead and let's create a basic HTML page again. So HTML5 again, and I don't need this meta tag, so I'm going to remove it. Not this, the whole meta thing. Here we go. Remove it, and let's write something like intro to CSS, something like that. Cool. Now, guys, let's move ahead and let's simply create a paragraph tag. Okay. So I have a paragraph tag, and I simply put like some dummy content there, and that's it. Okay. Now let's run this page. Let's execute this page. Right click, copy the path. Let me take a browser window for you. Here we go. Cool. Perfect. We can see it. Let me zoom the browser. Okay. So here we have a simple black paragraph. Now, what if I want to change the color of the text? What if I want to change the color of the text? Okay. And for that, we can use CSS. So let's see how to apply CSS by using the first way that we learned, that is inline way. Okay. That is what? The inline way. So now, which extension install for this CSS emit? I haven't used CSS yet. Now you simply see the extension that I told on the first day, Saraswati. Okay, the HTML and CSS snippets. So there was an extension called HTML and CSS snippets. So that is something you can install and that will work for CSS. I also use that extension only for CSS. Okay, guys. So now let's apply CSS by using the first way, that is inline way. And now how to apply CSS in inline way? You simply go to the opening tag and there is an attribute available named as style. So there is an attribute. Now you know where to write an attribute, right? We have learned in the last 2 days how to write an attribute. So there is a style attribute available. Okay. So you simply go in the opening tag and write the style attribute. And now in between these double quotes, you can actually write the complete CSS. You can actually write the CSS. And we know how to write CSS in property colon value format. So there's a property named color that we use to change the color of the text. So color and then whatever color you want and then finally semicolon. So you can see property colon value. Is that clear? So inside style, here you can write any CSS you want. So color red. Now let's see if it is working. How do we know that you are reviewed assignment? I don't review it normally, but the moderators review it. So all your assignments are reviewed. Don't worry. All your assignments are reviewed. Okay, Uttam, don't worry about it. Okay. And here we go. See, now we have actually colored it. Is that cleared? So color is the property that helps you to change the text color. Don't worry about it. You don't worry about the properties right now. You'll understand in some time. Right now, just try to understand how to write inline CSS. Now, if you want to write any more properties, go ahead. After the semicolon, you can continue with the property. So there's a property called as font family, by which you can change the font family. So let's say I put like Calibri. I want this font family to be Calibri. So font family is a property which helps you to change the font text, like font family of the text. So font family, again see, after semicolon, property, colon, value, and one more semicolon. After this, I can also continue with another properties, infinite properties. Don't worry about that. You can continue. So here we go. Now see, the font family is also changed. So that's how you apply CSS. So this was the first way by which you can apply CSS. So guys, are we cleared? Everyone, are we cleared with this? Everyone, guys, are we cleared with this? So that's how you apply CSS in the inline way. Don't worry about the properties and values. They are same everywhere. That's how you write CSS. But this is how you apply CSS in the inline way. Okay, that's cool. Now let's move ahead. Let's do one more thing. Let's write one more p tag. Let's write one more p tag. Okay, and let's put some dummy content in that as well. Cool. Save it. Here we go. We have one more paragraph. Now to the first paragraph, I have applied some CSS. But to the second paragraph, I have not applied any CSS. So it's looking normal. Now, if I want to apply some CSS, I can go here and I can again write style tag, right? Or if I want to apply the same CSS, I can copy this CSS from the top. That means now, if I am using the inline way of writing CSS, okay, if I'm following the inline way of writing CSS, that means if I want to apply CSS to each and every tag, I have to write CSS again and again, again and again, again and again. For example, if I want to apply the same CSS here as well, I have to go here and do this again. That means if I have 100 paragraphs, so to all that 100 paragraphs, I have to write this CSS again and again. And that's one disadvantage of inline CSS. Is that clear? That's one disadvantage of inline CSS. That means basically if you want to apply the same thing to multiple elements, you have to write that CSS again and again, again and again. You have to repeat your code. Is that clear, everybody? So that's one disadvantage of inline CSS. But remember, guys, inline CSS is not wrong. You can use it, but you have to understand when to use it and when not to use it. So simply, like, for example, think of it like this. If I have 100 P's, okay, and I want to apply same CSS to all the P's. In that case, I should avoid inline CSS because I have to repeat my CSS again and again. So what is the next step? So now this problem is solved by the next way of applying CSS. That is the internal way of applying CSS. That is what? The internal way. So remember, guys, inline CSS works totally fine. It's amazing, but the only disadvantage is if you want to use it multiple times, you cannot do it. You have to write it again and again. So that's one disadvantage. Okay. So now, how can we actually solve it? So let's remove this. Or I'll just do one thing. I'll keep it commented so that if I share this file, you'll also have an example of inline CSS. Okay, I'll keep it commented on the top. Now, let's create multiple P's like this. Let's create multiple P's like this. Now I have 3 P's. You can see actually 4 P's, not 3. So now I have 4 P's, and the first P I have commented it. It's for you guys. When I share this file, you'll have an example where I have applied inline CSS. So don't worry about it. So now, how can I use the internal CSS? And I have to see how it is solving this problem of repetition of CSS. So let's see. So now, to apply internal CSS, what you have to do is simply go in your head. Now, see guys, you can write this anywhere, but normally according to standards and according to good coding behavior, you should always go in your head and write style tag. So go in your head after the title or before the title, doesn't matter, but always try to write it after the title because title should be at the top because it's the title of the page. So just according to normal standards, after the title, put your style tag. And now inside style tag, this is your area. This is your area where you can write CSS. Now this is your area where you can write CSS. But now there's one more problem. In the tag, when I wrote style tag, I was clear that that style I want to apply on that particular p tag. So when I use the style attribute, I'm sure that that particular style will be applied to that tag. But now I'm writing CSS somewhere else. Now I'm writing CSS somewhere else, and my HTML is inside body. How will it get applied? So that is one thing we also have to learn. So let's see. I again decide, okay, fine. I want to apply color red, and I also want to apply font family Calibri. Now, these are the two CSS properties that I want to apply to all the p tags. So how I'm going to do that? So to do that, you have to do this. You have to use something called as a selector. So what you do is simply write the tag name. Remember, guys, don't do this. Don't write the tag. No, only write the tag name. That is p. Okay, fine. I want to apply CSS on p tag. And open a block and just put all of the CSS that you want to apply on the p tag inside that block. And that is it. And that is done. P, and then the block of P, and then inside that write all the CSS that you want to apply on P tag. Now, if I have 4 P tags, that particular CSS will be applied to all the P tags. If I have 100 P tags, that particular single CSS will be applied to 100 P tags. And by doing this, we have solved the problem of repetition. That means I write CSS only once and I'm applying it 100 times. Let's check it out. Save it. And here we go. See, now all the P tags have a color of red and font family of Calibri. Are we cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Please tell me, everyone, are we cleared with this? And please, guys, you have to watch today's session completely because at the end, I'm also going to create a mini project. At the end, I'm also going to show you how to create a really cool looking web page. HTML5 not working in my VS Code even after installing HTML5 extension as you showed. Please help. Like, what is happening? It's just me. What is happening? Like, are you not getting the shortcut or you're unable to execute the code? What is happening? Vaishali, don't worry. We're going to learn that also. We're going to learn that also. What is background color and all the stuff. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I hope we are cleared with this, everyone. Now, we are cleared with this. We are done with this. And it's good. Now, the problem of repetition is solved. But now, we have one more problem. Now, there's one new problem. If internal add inline apply same tag, what? I think your question is, if we apply internal and internal and inline to a tag, what will be applied? In that case, inline will be applied because inline has the highest priority. Is that clear, Altaf? And don't worry, we're also going to discuss about this topic. So don't worry about it. We're also going to discuss about this topic. Don't worry, Altaf. But just for your answer, inline will be applied. Okay. Now, guys, we have solved one problem, but now there is one new problem. And the new problem is, now I have 4 P tags. Okay. Now I decide I want to color the first 2 P tags in red, but I want to color the next 2 P tags in green. What can I do for it now? So now there is one more problem. What if I want to color 2 P tags in red and I want to color the next 2 P tags in green? What can I do for it? Because all the names of all the tags is P. How I'm going to differentiate that? Okay, fine. For the last 2 P tags, I want a color green. How I'm going to do that? Because the name of all the P tags is P. So now, guys, there is one more thing that you can do here is, there's one more thing that you can do, and that is you can actually go on and give something called as a class. Give something called as a class to your elements. Okay. Think of it like it's just a nickname. It's just a nickname, or it's just another name for that particular p tag. Okay. So it is also a p, but I'm also giving it a class. So let's say I give it a class of a, or let's say I give it a class of ele. You can give any name. Okay, right? You can give ele, you can give your name, doesn't matter. Just don't start with a number. That's not a good standard. So don't start with a number, but you can write anything. Okay. So I gave it a class of ele. That means now this particular p tag can be either called using p or can be called using ele. That means it can be selected using p or it can be selected using ele. To show you this, let's go on the top here and let's write ele. Again, I'm calling a tag now by using its class name, not the tag name, by using its class name. And again, you can create a block and write some CSS. But there's one important thing, guys. There's one important thing. When you write a tag name, you simply write it. That is something that CSS understands. So when you simply write any selector here, when you simply write anything like this, it thinks that it's a tag name. So to tell CSS that ele is not a tag name, it's a class name, what you have to do is at the start, you have to put a dot. Remember, guys, whenever you are using a class selector, that means whenever you are selecting an element using class name, always remember to put dot. Otherwise, it will think, otherwise the CSS will think that you're writing a tag name and it will not find any tag name using ele. Okay. So to mention that it is a class, you have to mention dot in the start. And now you can just go here and write color green. And now whatever elements has a class of ele will be colored green. Are we clear, if or why class only not provide ID in p tag? You can also provide ID in p tag, right? But we have to go step by step, right? We'll also learn class, we'll also learn ID, right, Suraj? And yes, but when you are when you actually start designing things, you should never use IDs. You should always go for classes. And I'll tell you that also. But yep, let's go step by step, right? Can you tell about cold span? It's just not getting in. Why? It's just what is the problem? What is the problem that you're facing? Vishal, can you tell me? What is the problem you're facing in cold span? If you tell me that, I can solve it for you. It's just not getting in your head. That is a confusion. That means you're unable to understand cold span. Is that your problem? So I'll solve it for you. I'll explain it. Don't worry. Let's just complete the basics of CSS. Then I'll tell you what is cold span. Will that be fine, Vishal? Okay. So now, guys, ele means nothing. Yes, that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. You can give it any name. I just gave it a name. I just gave it a name of ele. You can give anything. You can give like para. You can give any class name. Is that clear, Yash? That's what I told in the start, that you can give any name to it. So just like it has a P as its name, you can now it has one more name called para. Now you can call this P tag, or you can select this P tag either with the tag name or with the class name. Okay. And I simply named it ele. That's it. There's no meaning to it. I named it ele because it's an element, but you can name it anything. Okay. I hope it is cleared. Okay. Now, guys, let's see. Can you see that? Now, the third P tag is having a color of green. The third P tag is having a color of green because you can see here to ele, I said, I want you to have a color of green. So guys, are we clear with this? Unlimited, Ankit Kumar, unlimited. There's no limit to it. There's no limit to it. Okay, guys, are we cleared? So if it is a tag name, if you're selecting an element using its tag name, just write the tag name. But if you're selecting an element using its class name, always remember to mention dot. Okay, that's the difference. That's how CSS differentiates that what is a tag name and what is a class name. I hope we are cleared, everyone. Okay, it's just me, required attribute is not working. I think then I have to check your code. So do one thing, it's just me, don't worry about it. Just paste your code on the group and I'll see that. Will that be fine? It's just me. Because then I have to check, right? If required attribute is not working, I have to check what is the problem. I have to check what mistake you have made. So do one thing, just paste your code on the group and then I can see it. Is that fine? It's just me. Just please paste your code on the group. Okay, guys. Now, there's one more thing. Okay. Now, remember, guys, if you want to give an element multiple classes, you can give it. But remember how to give it. You have to give it a space. So you can give a space and you can give it one more class like para. So now this particular P element is having two classes. One is ELE, one is para. So you can also give a single element multiple class names. Just remember to put a space. Just remember to put a space. Is that clear, everyone? I hope we are cleared, right? So you can also give an element multiple class names, and that's totally fine. But right now we don't need it, so we're going to remove it. So remember, just give a space and write the second class name, or space third class, space fourth class, space fifth class. Totally fine. Now, see what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the fourth element, and I'm also going to give it a class of ELE. That means now my two elements have ELE class. That means now they both follow the ELE class, and they should both have the green color. And let's see. And here we go. So now two elements have same class name, and that's totally fine. Okay. So remember about classes that you can give element multiple classes, and you can give the same class to multiple elements. So remember these things, guys. You can give a same class to multiple elements, and you can also give a single element multiple different classes. Okay, is that cleared? Indu, don't worry, you will understand. You will understand in some time. When we start creating things, you'll understand, because there are a lot of times when you want to apply different CSS, or when you want to like apply some CSS that is already there. In that case, you need multiple classes. Don't worry, you'll understand about it. Okay, are we cleared, everyone? Can we give class to as class name? Yes, why not? Why not? You can also give class as class name. It's totally fine. Is that cleared, Sumanashri? So guys, are we cleared with this, everyone? Are we cleared with this? Don't worry, Sujal, don't worry. I've explained it a lot of times, and I explain it here also. Don't worry about it. Okay, Sujal? Okay, guys, so are we cleared with this? Okay. Now, let's move ahead. Okay. Now, there is one more way by which you can also select elements. Okay. So there is one more way by which you can also select elements. Okay. And the next way is you can also give a different name to your elements by using the ID attribute. Okay. You can also give elements a different name by using the ID attribute. Just like you give class, you can also give IDs. So what you can do is you can just like give anything. Let's say I give it a name of E1, and that's totally fine. Let's say I give it a name of E1. So just like you use class attribute to give a name, you can also use ID attribute to give a name. So now this element can be called using P, or it can called using the ID, that is E1. So let's see how to call or how to select an element using the ID. Okay, so now guys, let's move ahead. Okay, and now let's select the element using ID. Okay, and that's how you do it. See, you simply write E1. Okay, but now again, one more thing. When you write it like this, the CSS will think that it's a tag name. So again, to differentiate that it's an ID, remember to put a hash. Okay, so for class names, you put a dot. So when you select the element using class name, you put a dot, and when you select the element using ID, you put a hash. Remember that. And that's the only difference. That's the basic difference while you select the elements. Is that clear, everyone? And now if I want to show you, see, you can do this. Color, let's say I put blue. Now see, hash E1, color blue. That means this element has the ID of E1, and now it should be colored blue. So let's see. And here we go. See, now we have the color blue. So guys, are we clear with how to apply this? But now, what to use? Should we go for ID or should we go for classes? Should we go for ID or should we go for classes? So now remember, now let's try to understand what is exactly the meaning of ID or class. So first of all, see, you learned that you can give the same class name to multiple elements. But remember, you should never give a same ID to multiple elements. That means if you give an ID to an element, that ID should never be given to any other element, because ID is basically for unique identification of an element. ID is basically for unique identification of an element. Okay. So the rule is you should never give the same ID to multiple elements, and you should also never give multiple IDs to a single element, because ID is for unique identification. But you can give classes. So for classes, you can give the same class to multiple elements, and you can give a single element multiple classes. But IDs are for unique identification. So you should always give one ID to one element, and you should never repeat that ID for any other element. That's not a good standard. Is that cleared, everyone? Are we cleared? Everyone, are we cleared with this? Okay, that is really cool. That is really cool. Yes, Sujal, I hope you understand, right? Because standard is something that W3C is forcing on you, and rule is something that you think when you create something. So I hope you are that much knowledgeable that you understand the difference between standard and rule, right, Sujal? And please don't spread any wrong information in the chat today. Okay? Please don't do it. Okay, guys, so are we clear with this? Okay, that is cool. That means whenever you're working with CSS, always try to avoid IDs. Okay, whenever you're working with CSS, try to avoid IDs. Don't use IDs for CSS. Don't use IDs for CSS. Is that clear? Okay, now we can remove this. We are always going to use classes for CSS. We are never going to use IDs for CSS because IDs are for unique identification, and sometimes we want to apply same CSS to a lot of elements. So we can always go for classes, and classes will solve everything for us. So no need to use IDs for CSS. Avoid it. Is that cleared? Nope, Sujal, we don't need it. We don't need it, buddy. Don't worry about it. We don't need it. Okay? And I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying please avoid it. You can use it, but avoid it. You should not use it because that will create a lot of problems if you can't handle it properly. Right? Okay, that's cool. Now let's move ahead. Okay, guys, so are we clear with this? Everyone, first of all, tell me, are we clear with this? HTML5 extension is working in my VS Code. Instead, it's normal HTML file. Okay, so again, then we have to check what is the problem with your extension, right? So first of all, paste your code is just me. Don't spam the chat, buddy. We read your chat. So first of all, do one thing, paste your code, the required problem, paste your code in the group, and so that I can see it. And after that, we'll solve your problem as well. Don't worry. We'll solve your problem of the extension as well. Because that is something for that we need to connect to your computer to see what is the problem with the extension, right? If you have installed the proper extension or not. But about the code problem, please paste your code in the community group so that we can solve it. Okay. Yes, Omkar, I'll explain you in some time. Don't worry about meta tags. Don't worry about meta tags right now. Let's try to focus on the important things now, and then we'll move on to the meta and everything else. Don't worry about it. Okay. So guys, I hope we are cleared with this, and now we can move ahead. And I really hope that you understood classes and IDs. Okay. So whenever you're working with CSS, always go for tag names and mostly for classes. Try to avoid IDs. Okay, because we mostly use IDs when we work with JavaScript because we want to fetch a unique element or a proper element. Okay, that's when we go for IDs. Normally, when we work with CSS, we don't use IDs. We avoid IDs. So you should also do that. Otherwise, it will create a lot of problems in reusability. Okay, that's cool. Okay, now let's move ahead and let's see the third way of applying CSS. Now, the third way is like almost similar to the second way, the internal way. Okay, so let's see it. So now what third way says is, the third way is basically what? External CSS. So what it says is that you should create your CSS in a separate file. But for what? Now think of it like this. Let's say you're creating a web page, okay, and your CSS is growing a lot. Now you have like thousands of lines of CSS, or maybe 12,000, 10,000 lines of CSS, and your HTML is also really big. So basically now you're having CSS and HTML in the same page. So the problem is your page is growing too large. And while coding, it will create a lot of complications because you have to move up and down a lot. And your page is also getting heavier in size. So that is one problem, one really big problem that you can face. And while coding, it will cause a lot of problems because if your CSS is big and if your HTML is really big, you have to scroll up and down while doing things. When you want to write CSS, you have to go up. When you want to write HTML, you have to come down. So you have to do these things a lot. And that's why it is suggested that you should normally, when you think like your CSS will grow big, you should normally use an external CSS. And by external CSS, we mean that you should have a separate CSS file. So let's see how to do it. And it's really simple. It's not different at all. It's not different at all. So what you do is you create another file, okay, and let's name it again third. But now the extension for this file will be .css. That is third.css. Okay, so you can give any name. I can give style, I can give any name, but the extension should be .css because the page that I'm creating right now is completely dedicated to CSS. Okay, and that's it. Here we go, third.css. Now you don't have to write any style tags here, nothing like that, because this page is completely dedicated to CSS. Okay, And that's cool. Now what you can do is you can simply copy your CSS and paste it there. That means just in the way that you write your internal CSS, you can also write your external CSS. There are no changes in writing CSS. You're still selecting elements by tag names or class name, and you're still writing the same CSS. But the problem is now you don't need style tag. But now the problem is, how will this HTML page know that from where I have to take my CSS? How will this CSS page know that where I have to apply my CSS? So basically, when you write an external CSS, there is only one thing that you have to do. You have to link both the pages so that they can understand how, like, from where I'm going to get my CSS, and so that the CSS page can understand from where I'm going to get my HTML, of to which HTML I have to apply my CSS. So let's see how to do that. Let's see how to link your HTML and CSS page. So to do that, you simply use something called as a link tag. Okay, and in this, you simply write two important attributes. One is relation. You simply put style sheet. It basically mentions what kind of relation you have with that page that you're linking. So the page that I'm linking here is basically my style sheet. So I'm writing relation with that page is style sheet. And then you write href attribute, that is hyperlink reference. So fine, here you write which page I'm referencing to, which page I'm trying to link. So I'm trying to link third.css, and that's it. Simple. So link relation is style sheet, and href that simply means which page I'm linking, and I'm linking third.css, and that's it. And the CSS is still the same. You can see that a p tag, color red, font family Calibri, and a .ele, color of green, and that's it. Let's see if the CSS is still getting applied. Save it. Okay, there's some issue. Maybe we have made a mistake here. Let's save this as well, and here we go. So the problem was I didn't save the CSS file. So now you also have to take care of this thing, guys. If you make changes in the CSS file, remember to save it. If you make changes in the HTML file, remember to save it. Okay, so save both the files. So guys, I hope we are cleared here, right, everyone? Okay, that's cool. That is really cool. Okay. So everyone, are we cleared with how to apply CSS to the elements, and can we move ahead now to understanding the bigger things? Because now we have to learn how to create containers, how to create proper elements, how to put up images, how to style them, how to arrange them. So this was the basics of CSS. Now you know how to create a class, how to apply CSS using a class. Now you know how to write the CSS in inline way, internal way, and external way. Okay. Now, okay, that's amazing. Now let's move ahead. Okay, remove all of this. We don't need all of this. So let me just remove all of this. Okay, and now let's start writing. Let's start building the things that we need today. Okay, now we know what is CSS, and now we know how to do it basically. Okay, at least we know the fundamentals now of CSS. Now, when you create a web page, okay, so whenever you start building a web page, the first thing that you need whenever you start building a web page, one of the most important things that you create in your web page is something called as a container. Okay, so the first and one of the most important things that you create in your web page is something called as a container that actually helps you to contain your elements, or you can simply call them boxes that actually help you to contain your element. They keep your element. Okay, so the first and one of the most important things that you create in a web page are nothing but containers. And if I want to show an example, let's go to a site like flipkart.com. Like, I want to show you what are containers basically. So think of it like this. You can see the first bar, right? The blue bar. That blue bar itself is a container, which is containing this logo, this search input field, this button, and these icons or these links. Then the second box, second is also a container, which is containing these images and the titles. Then you have container, which is containing the slider. So basically, you divide your page into sections. You divide your page into containers. Containers are nothing but boxes in which you keep your elements, so that you can move your elements easily, so that you can arrange your elements easily. That's it. Is that clear, everyone? Are we cleared? Explain line 5 in CSS. Which one? We removed it. I think you're joining late, young revolutionary movements. Do one thing, please. Just go back in the video. You can watch it again. What we did here. Is that cleared? Okay. So everyone, are we clear with this? So we have containers that are nothing but boxes in which you can keep your elements, and they basically help you to move your elements easily, to arrange your elements easily, and that's it. And don't worry, throughout the time, once you start doing it, once you start understanding things, you'll understand how to work with it. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Okay, everyone, let's move ahead now. So now let's see how to create containers. Okay. So the tag that you have to create containers is something called as a div. The first and one of the most used tags that you have to create containers is a div tag, which simply stands for division. And it simply will create a section on the page or a box on the page, which will easily help you to create a container. Simple. So now let's do one thing. Let's give it a class, and let's give it a class of 1. Let's simply give it a class of 1. Okay. Now let's apply some CSS to it. So let's go ahead. Let's write 1. And now let's write few properties like height 400 pixels, width 400 pixels, and we can't see it normally. So we also have to give it a background color, because by default, the color is transparent. So we cannot see it. So let's give it a background color of red. Okay. So guys, see everyone, it's simply a div. We give it a class 1. And on the class 1, we are simply applying height 400 pixel, width 400 pixel, and background color red. Simple as that. Okay, now let's see what is the output that we are getting. So save both the pages, come here, and here we go. Now we have a 400 pixel and like 4 by 4 or 400 by 400 pixels container, or simply a box. Don't think of it like a really big thing. It's simply a box in which you can create your elements. Now in this, you can create your p tags, you can create your elements, you can put your images and whatever you want. So guys, are we clear with it? And don't worry, depending on the website, depending on what we are creating, we can make big containers and small containers. Are we cleared, everyone? Guys, are we clear with this? Everyone, please tell me, are we cleared with this? Guys? PyCode is asking which way is better to add CSS to HTML by using external file or inside the HTML. See, it depends. If you think that you're going to have a big CSS, always go for external. But if you think you're simply going to have like a 10 lines or 20 lines of CSS, then there is no need. Like, you can still go for external, but there is no need of creating an external page. You can always write internal. So only if you think that your CSS is going to go big, go for external. And normally also you can go for external for small CSS things also. But if it is small, you can go for internal. So totally fine, not a problem at all. Okay. Now, what if I want to make this container a full width container? What if I want to make this container a full width container? Vishal, UTF-8 is nothing but a character encoding. That's all, just like ASCII. You have heard of ASCII, right? So UTF-8 is nothing but a character encoding that my web page will use. Okay? Just like ASCII, you have ASCII. Simple. Okay. Now, what we want to understand here is how to make this container full width. That means how to make this container exactly same as the screen size. Okay. So for that, you should know the screen size. The first thing is you should know the screen size for it. But what if I don't know the screen size? Or what if I make this website in my screen and my screen is big? And if I launch the website and the user who is seeing it, his screen size is smaller, then how will it manage? So one thing is, if I want to make it full width, if I know my screen size, I can give it that pixel. Like for example, my screen is 1990 pixels. I can give width of 1990 pixel and it will become full width. But is there a simpler solution for this? So yes, there is. What you can do is you can simply go here and put width 100%. You can also give measurements in percentages. So I can simply put width 100%. And here we go. Now you have a full width container. And now, even if your screen size goes less, see, it's 100% according to that. It's not going big or small. If my screen size is this much, it's still 100%. If my screen size is this much, it's still 100%. If my screen size is this much, it's still 100%. Now, what is the difference between pixel and percentage? Let's also try to understand that. What if I give it like 1000 pixels? Okay, I give it like 1000 pixels. Okay, so let's give it 1000 pixels. Now see, this is 1000 pixels. Cool, perfectly fine. But remember, pixels will never change according to the screen. Pixels will never change according to the screen. That means if my screen goes less than 1000, 1000 is still 1000. That means if my screen is now 500, 1000 pixel is still 1000, and that's why I have a scroll bar here. I have to scroll to view the complete element. I have to scroll now. So pixels never get shorted with the screen. Pixels never get shorter with the screen. Is that clear? And that's why we have percentages. That's why we have. Can you please explain box model? Yes, yes, Pycode, don't worry. Let's go step by step. First, we'll understand how to create elements, and then I'll explain you what is box model. So don't worry. Okay. So guys, are we understanding? Everyone, are we understanding? Okay. And if I don't give it in pixels, if I simply give like 50%, that means now 50% of the screen. And if I make the screen smaller, it will still try to become 50% of the screen. That means as the screen goes small or it grows, the element will also grow. So guys, are we cleared with this? Everyone, are we cleared? That's why we like percentages are a really good unit for widths. That's why percentages are one of the best units to use when you're working with width. Okay, I hope we are cleared with this. So everyone, are we cleared? Please tell me. Guys, are we cleared? Yes, yes, Jujare, Chaitanya, don't worry. We are planning to make videos on JavaScript and Angular. So don't worry. We like have all of that in plan. Don't worry about it. Okay. Yes. See, we can also give height in percentages, but you should never you should avoid it again, because height always goes infinite. It goes in scroll as you create your content. So we normally avoid giving height in percentages. We normally give width in percentages, not the height. Okay. So remember it. Can we write only width 100%? No, you can write 120%. Then it will grow beyond the screen. Simple. Okay, but there is actually a little more to this percentage. I want to make you understand that as well. Guys, please focus. There is some more, there are some more things that you have to understand about this percentage thing. Okay, now let's say inside that div, okay, inside that div, I create one more div. Okay, inside that div, I create one more div. Okay, and let's say I give it like name of one underscore child. Okay, so inside that div one, I create one more div. Now it's inside the div. That means this div is the parent of this div. Everyone, please focus. This div is the parent of this div. Okay, so now one child is basically child of one. And let's say I write some CSS for it. Dot one underscore child. Okay, and I give it a height of 100 pixels. And I give it a width of, now please focus everyone. Please focus. Okay, now I'm giving it a width of 100%, and let's also give it a background color of, let's say, yellow. Okay, now you have to focus here to understand percentages completely. Now I have given a width of 100% to the one child, but the parent's width is width 50%. Okay, now let's see what is happening here. And see, yellow is taking the complete parent. I have given yellow that you should have a width of 100%, and that is taking the complete parent. That means whenever you give width in percentages, percentage will always depend on the parent, not on the screen. It will always depend on the parent. So the first element, the one, is depending on the body because body is parent. But the one child is depending on one element because one is the parent. So remember, percentages will always depend on the parent, not on the screen. Okay. So if my parent is 100 pixel, I don't care. He is my 100%. Okay. So if my parent is 100 pixel, and if I'm inside my parent, if you give me 100%, I will also take 100 pixel, because my 100% is always my parent's complete width. I don't care what is my parent's size. It can be small, it can be big, but that is my 100%. Is that cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Everyone, please tell me, are we cleared with this? Guys, everyone, please tell me, are we cleared with this? Are we cleared with the concept of percentages now? So remember, you have to understand percentages, because percentages are one of the most important units when it comes to responsiveness. Percentages are one of the most important units. Okay, that's cool. Amazing. Now let's move ahead. Okay, and let's start learning few more things. And also let's make it 100% now. So if I make it 100%, see, both are full because red is going 100%, and accordingly the blue is also going sorry, the yellow is also going 100%. But now we want to learn few more things here. So for that, I'm going to comment out this one child. I don't need this. Okay, I'll also comment out this. Okay, and just for now, let's give it like 20% width. Yes, 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 Initha, we can add image, not a problem at all. You can definitely add image. You can try it actually. We have learned HTML in the last 2 days, right? So if you want, you can actually try and add image, see if it is working. So yes, you can always add it, not a problem at all. Okay. Okay. Now guys, see, now we're trying to understand the box model. So I want everyone to focus now. I want everyone to focus. Okay. So please, for the next 10 minutes, focus on this. And if you understand this, you can say that the 30% of CSS that people find tough is clear to you. If you only focus the next 10 minutes, the 30% of CSS or the layouting part will be clear to you. Okay. So everyone, please focus. Why is yellow container above the red container? Because red is the parent, right? So how will it be inside? It was inside, not because it's a 2D screen, so it looks like it's above, but it's actually inside, right? It's inside that red. Okay, it's not a 3D screen, so you cannot see it like it's actually inside. So it's a 2D screen, so it will only look like it's above the red, right? Lal Kiru, I hope you're understanding, buddy. Okay, because we have a 2D screen, so we cannot like see it's actually inside or not. So it will only look like it's above the red. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. Everyone, please focus now. Okay. So now the next property that I want to show you is, and before that, I want to like make it small. Okay, let's make it like 200 pixels. Okay. Now the next property that I want to make you understand is this padding. Now what is padding? Okay. Padding, you mean to say yellow dominate red? No, it's not like that. It's simply red is the parent. For all the people getting confused here, red is the parent, and inside that you have yellow. Okay, and you can also see the yellow div. So the red is actually behind, so it's not dominating, it's simply behind. That's why you cannot see that part of the red, right? Are you understanding this? Is that clear? Chukka, you cannot use it like that. No, we don't have the concept of variables, but we have it when we learn SASS. Normally in normal CSS we don't have the concept of variables, so you cannot do that. Okay, PyCode, I hope you're cleared. So it's not like dominating or something, it's simply childs appear on the parent. Okay, always remember, childs appear on the parent, child hides the parent. Okay, so now guys, let's move ahead and let's focus on the new property, that is padding. So what is padding? Okay, what exactly is padding? So remember guys, padding is nothing but a fake size. Padding is nothing but a fake size that is added onto the height and width of the element. So now see, current size of the element is 200 by 200. Okay, and when I add padding, there will be an additional height and width added to the element, but that will be fake height and width. The original will still be 200 and 200. Now let's see it. Okay, so if I go here and I say 50 pixel, if I say 50 pixel of padding, that means now a 50 pixel extra size will be added to all the sides of the square, all the sides of that div. Let's see. Here we go. Now it looks like that element has grown, but actually the element's height and width is still 200 and 200. It's just an extra 50 pixel is added on all the sides, and that is a fake size. That's not real size. You cannot work inside it. You cannot put any content inside it. You cannot put any content inside it. Is that clear, everyone? So padding is simply a fake size. It makes your element looks bigger, but your element is still 200 by 200. And 50 pixel is added onto it. And just to make you clear that that is a fake size, we can do this. See everyone, let's do this. Let's remove the padding for a second. Remove the padding for a second. Let's put some content in that. Okay, so remove this div for some time and let's put some content like hello. Now see, you can see the hello here. If I zoom it, you can see the hello here, right? See the hello. Okay, hello is inside the 200 range. Hello is inside the actual height and width of the element. 200 height, 200 width, and hello is inside the actual height and width. Now let's add the padding. And see, hello is still inside the 200 range. Hello is still inside the 200 range. It's just 50 pixel has been added on all the sides. 50 pixel fake size has been added on all the sides. So never think like that your element is actually growing. No, your element is still 200 by 200. A 50 pixel is added on the top, on the right, on the bottom, on the left, and it's fake. There's no content will never go inside that. Content will always be inside the actual height and width of the element. So are we cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Everyone, are we cleared? The content will always be in the real height and width. It will never go inside the padding. Padding is simply a fake size. Okay, I hope we are clear. Yes, 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 PyCode. Padding is getting applied to all the sides. So 50 pixel is added on the left, 50 on the right, 50 on the top, 50 on the right, and 50 on the bottom. Okay, and to see this properly, let me open the developer tools again. So right click on it to clearly see this. Right click on it. Okay, and let me zoom it for you. Okay, so right click on the element and then select the element here. Okay, so let me select the element here and now just go down and you can see. So if I go see, now here we have margin is nothing, border is nothing. You can see padding of 50 pixels. Can you see the highlighted area, everyone? Can you see that highlighted area? Guys, can you see that highlighted area there? Okay, so see, this is the actual height and width, 200 by 200, and the content is still inside it. That means my element is still 200. Only there is an extra size added on top of it, and that's it. That's what it is. Padding. Padding is a fake size. So a lot of people consider padding as the gap between the elements corner and the text, or elements corner and the content. No, it's not like that. Padding is simply a fake size. That's all. The container is still 200 by 200. Is that clear, everyone? So I hope we are clear with this. Omkar, you don't give padding to text. No, you don't give padding to text. Yes, but you can give padding to the tag containing the text. Like you can give padding to P, you can give padding to H1, but you normally don't give padding to text. Okay, so I hope it is cleared. I really hope padding is cleared now to everyone. Okay, that's cool. Now, there is also one more thing. Now, see, guys, basically what I want to make you understand here is that padding is something that contributes in the size, but it's not a real size. Okay, padding is something that contributes in the size of an element. Now, there is one more thing that contributes in the size of the element, and that is something called as border. This is one more thing that contributes in the size of the element. Okay, that is border. So you can come here and say, okay, fine, I want a 10 pixel border. I want a 10 pixel border, and the color, I want the type of the border to be solid. So there are types of the border, and don't worry, we'll learn about it. But remember, there are types of the border. So I simply want a plain border. So I simply say, okay, fine, I want a solid border. So the size of the border, I want it 10 pixel. The type of the border will be solid, and the color of the border that I want here is black. And that's it. Simple. Border, 10 pixel of the size. It should be a solid border. That means a plain border and black in color. And let's see if we can add a border. And here we go. See that? And now see, element is still same. We have 50 pixel of padding and 10 pixel of border. You can see it. Okay, I hope we are understanding. If we add border to container, then it include the padding or exclude the padding. It will be outside of the padding, but still it counts in the size. Okay, border also contributes in the size of the element, but it's still not the real container size. It's still outside the container. Is that clear? But we can make it with the container. Don't worry, I'll show you that as well. We can actually do this. We can actually make the border negligible. We can make the border negligible. So I'm going to show you that to you. Don't worry about it. But guys, are we clear with this? Please tell me, are we cleared with this? Okay. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me what is the current height of this element? What, sir, where you write hello in the code? Harshit, in the element, inside the element, simple, inside the div. Okay, are we cleared, Harshit? Simply inside the div, that's it. If we applied border, then some size of the element increased by the border. Yes, yes, PyCode, exactly. Yes, it is increased. Okay. Now, the question was, can you guys tell me what is the exact height of this element, including the fake and real size? What is the exact height of this element, including the fake and real size? Including the fake and real size. What is the height? Come on, guys, tell me what is the height of this element. 200 is wrong because it's only the real size. I'm saying including the fake and real size. Some people are saying 300. No, but it's not 300. Exactly. I think there was one guy who got it correct. It is okay. A lot of people saying 260. Guys, don't only read the top one, also read the bottom one. Padding and border are also added to the bottom, right? And I'm asking complete height. Complete height from here till here. Exactly, it is 320 pixels. 10 plus 50, 60, plus 200, 260, plus 50, 310, plus 10, 320. So the complete height is 320 pixels. Are we clear with this, everyone? So guys saying 260, please don't read only the top part. Padding and border are also added to the bottom side. Okay, I hope we are clear with this. Okay, that is amazing. Now let's move ahead and let's see one more thing that contributes in the size. Let's see one more thing that contributes in the size. Okay, and the next thing that contributes in the size is this: margin. Now guys, see, margin is just like padding. Margin is also a fake size, but the difference is, unlike padding, margin is invisible. Unlike padding, margin is invisible. You cannot give any color to the margin. Okay, so remember that. So margin and padding are same. Both are fake sizes, but margin is something that is invisible. So see, if I add a margin of 50 pixels, now all around this element, a 50 pixel margin will be added, but that is invisible. So it will look like a gap to you. Okay, it will look like a gap to you. Now to show you this, refresh the page. See that? We get a feeling of the element is moving. We get a feeling of element is moving, but you see, if you see this, see, a 50 pixel of margin is applied on the top, on the left, on the right, sorry, on the bottom. Don't worry about the right, I'll explain you that. But remember that on the right also, the margin of 50 is applied. Is that clear, everyone? So margin is just like padding, but the difference is it's invisible. So it looks like a gap and you get a feeling of element is moving, but element is not moving. You're simply adding an invisible size all around the element. Is that cleared, everyone? Are we cleared? Guys, are we cleared? Please tell me. Okay. Please tell me, are we understanding margin, everyone? And don't worry, you can see that right margin is going towards the end. Why it is going, I'll also tell you that. Don't worry. Yes, yes, Manoj, we can make it. Yes, Manoj, we can make it. Don't worry, I'll show you that. What are you asking? Once again, simple. Margin is nothing but it's just a fake size. Again, it's a fake size, but it's invisible. That's all. Just like padding, it's exactly like padding. It's exactly like padding B1, BN1316. It's exactly like padding. Yes, total height, if you count the fake sizes, yes, the total height is including margin. But if you only count the real height, it's still 200. Is that cleared? Suraj Negi, is it cleared? So basically, if I tell you that tell me the total height, including the fake sizes, you have to calculate the border, you have to calculate the padding, you have to calculate the margin. But if I tell you, tell me the real height, you only have to calculate the real height. Is that cleared? I hope we are cleared. Okay, that's it. So you cannot give any color to the padding. It will take the by default color of your element. You can give color to a border, and margin is invisible. Simple. Okay, border is also nothing. Border is simple, right? Vishal, simple. I wanted a 10 pixel border. Okay, so that means I want a border of size 10 pixel. It should be black in color, and the type of the border should be solid. Now there are different types of border. Like there is a solid border. There is also a border called dashed. See, you'll see the difference. Solid means plain border, plain, no changes. See dashed border, it goes like this. It goes like this. Isha is asking difference between padding and margin. That's what we understood, right? Padding is also a fake size. Margin is also a fake size. The difference is margin is invisible, right? The Isha. Yes, yes, Pycode. I'll explain you why it is taking all the right side. Don't worry, I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. But guys, are we cleared? So Solid was just a type of a border. Solid says I want a plain border. You also have a dashed. So now see the borders are dashed. Simple. I think you also have something like dotted. Here we go. See, now you have dotted borders. Normally you don't need them. Normally we don't like create this kind of border. So I simply want a solid border. Okay, so solid, simple. Here we go. Simple plain border. Now, and actually, this was nothing but your box model. Simple. So some people are asking, right, what is the box model? This is nothing but your box model. Yes, exactly, BN1316. And this is what you call as your box model. Okay, the amount of size an element takes with all these properties is nothing but your box model. And now you have understood the basics of box model. Margin take same color as body color. No, margin does not have any color. Margin is invisible. Faisal, are you understanding? Margin is invisible. Okay, margin is not taking any color. Okay, I hope we are clear with this. Okay, and I hope you understood also. This is nothing but your box model. Okay, now, one more thing that I want to teach you here is, see, everyone please focus. Now, I want to create, let me just zoom it out again because it's zoomed a lot. Now, see, you can see I have a lot of gap here. Okay, I have a lot of gap here. Okay, in the right side. That means any element with height 100 and width 100 can come in there. Everyone please focus. Everyone please focus. Now, remember, we have a lot of gap in the right side. That means any element having height of 100 and width of 100 should come there. Let's see. Let's try to do it. So after this one element, I create one more div. Okay, I create one more div and give it a class of 2. I give it a class of 2. So I simply say div, a class of 2. That means I'm creating one more block after the one block. Okay. Now, remove this and let's write 2. I want a height of 100 pixels. I want a width of 100 pixels. Okay. And I want a background color of black. You can give it any color. Let's give it blue actually. Let's not give it black. Okay. Now let's see. Guys, please focus what is happening here. Everyone please focus. See, it's not coming in the right side. It's going down. And before everything, can we change the padding color? No, you cannot change the padding color. Okay. Now guys, tell me, can anyone tell me why we are getting the gap here? Anyone? If you're watching carefully, can anyone tell me why we are getting a gap here between the elements? First of all, tell me that. Why we are getting a gap here? Come on, guys, tell me. I want answers. Exactly. Because the top element has a margin bottom of 50 pixels. So there's a margin here. There's a fake size here that we cannot see, but it's there. Okay. And that's why it's going down. Amazing, amazing, amazing. But now, you know that there is a lot of space here, but still the blue element is not going here. It's going down. There's a lot of space in the right side, but still the blue element is going down and not on the right side. Why is that happening? Let's see that as well. Now, this is one thing where people get confused a lot. So let's see what is happening. So if you go for one, you can see that you have given a margin of 50. You have actually given a margin of 50, but still from the right side, it is going towards the end. You can see on the right side, the margin is still going towards the end. And that's why the next element is not going in the right side, it's going down. Because the right margin of the element is still going towards the end. And why is this happening? Because div is a block element. Now there are types of element, there are categories of element, and div is a block element. And block elements by default have a right margin that goes towards the end. Block element by default internally have a right margin that goes towards the end. Remember this, guys. So even if I have given that I want margin to be 50, but still right margin is still going towards the end, because that's the default behavior of block element, and div is a block element. That means if you create a div even this small, its right margin still will go towards the end, and the next element will always come down because the right margin is going towards the end. So even if the div is like 20 pixels small, the right margin is still going towards the end. Okay. So remember this. Everyone remember this. Don't worry, Sarva. Don't worry. Yeah, we're going to use it first. But before that, we have to understand, right? Before using anything like inline block or flex, before using anything, we have to understand, right? That what is the problem? Because a lot of people get confused like why it is happening, or even if they are using inline block or something like that, they don't know why is this actually happening. So this is why it is happening. Okay, you have to understand the problem first. Okay, because there are a lot of solutions. Okay, so this is the problem. Now how to solve it? So basically, div is a block element, and remember every block element will do this. P is also a block element, h1 is also a block element, and every block element will do this. Okay, now how to solve it? To solve it, we simply have to change the type of the element. We have to tell the element that, okay, I don't want you to behave like a block element. I don't want you to behave like a block element. But then what are the different types of element that we have? So now guys, let's try to understand. So the three basic types that you have, the three basic display types that you have in which you can display your elements are block, inline, and inline block. Now, first of all, let's try to understand. No, border box will not work here. In this case, border box will not do anything. Okay, everyone remember, as I said, there is a block element. Okay, and there are three basic categories of elements. One is block, one is inline block, okay, and then one is inline. These are the three basic categories of element. Block element, which is your div. Inline element, which is nothing but your text, normal text. It's nothing but the inline element. Okay, and then you have inline block. Now, div is by default a block element. Now, we can actually convert it to an inline element. But remember, inline elements can never have height and width. Remember it, guys. Remember it for like your lifetime. Inline elements can never have height and width. That means if you convert any element to inline element, you cannot give height and width. And if there is an inline element by default, you cannot give height and width. That means inline element can never have height and width, but they will go inline. They always go horizontal. Block elements can have height and width, but the right margin goes towards the end. So now, if I convert my block element to inline element, it will go horizontal, but we cannot give any height and width. Let's see. Let's see it actually. Let's see, guys. Now, to change your element type, you simply have a property called display. Okay. And I go here and I say, okay, fine. I want you to become an inline element. Okay. I'm saying that, okay, fine. I want you to become an inline element. By default, you are block, right? I want you to become an inline element. But now let's see what is happening. See, now that element's height and width is gone. If I show you, you see that now that element's height and width is basically gone. You can see that element has become really small because there is only padding left and nothing else, because that element's height and width is completely gone. Because I told you, right, inline elements can never have height and width. So what is the solution for this? And the solution for this is inline block, where an element gets an inline arrangement. That means they will go in horizontal direction, but it also has the block properties. That means it can also have height and width. So it will go in inline, but it can also have height and width. And let's go here and put inline block, and that's it. Okay, and we also have to go here to the next element, and we have to also tell him, right, it's also a div, right? So it's also a block element. So we also have to tell him, okay, fine, I also want you to become an inline block element. And let's see. Now perfect. You can see that. Is it cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Please tell me, everyone, are we cleared? So now both are inline block, and now if you see, the right margin is not going towards the end. The right margin is not going towards the end. See, now the right margin is only 50. See, now its right margin is only 50, so it's not going towards the end. Are we cleared now, everyone? I hope we are cleared now. So remember, inline elements can never have height and width. Rakib, what is your doubt, buddy? Can you tell me what is your confusion? And if you're joining late, buddy, I would suggest you to start watch it again. But tell me your confusion then. What is your confusion exactly? BN1316, buddy, what is your confusion? Can you tell me your confusion? Guys, please tell me what is your confusion. Everyone, please tell me what is your confusion. Okay, Rakib, so you're joining late, right? So I would suggest you to go back and rewatch the video, then you'll understand everything from start. Don't worry, Vishal will also see Flex. I'll also show you Flex. That's why I have increased the time for today's session, because I want you guys to understand Flex and at least the basics. Even if we don't create project, because today is the last session, right? So even if we don't create project, I still want to make you understand what is flex and everything. That's why I have increased this time for today's session. Okay. Did we use text instead of using blue box? Like, is your question, can we use text instead of using blue box? Yes, if you use text, but you'll put text in some container, right? In the p tag. So p is also a block element. So it will behave same again. Yes, yes, you'll understand, Kirti. Don't worry. In some time, you'll understand. Okay. See, block is by default. Div is a block element, and by default, the block element's margin goes towards the end. And then I told you what is inline. What is inline? Inline is also basically a type of element. Okay, like text. Text is basically by default inline. That means they go in horizontal direction. Whatever you write, they will go in horizontal direction. And when the screen ends, then only they come down, right? Remember it. Guys, see, when I write some text, when I write some dummy text like this, you know that it will go towards the end. It will go towards the end, and only if the screen ends, it will come down. Okay, that's what you call an inline element. Inline elements by default go in a horizontal direction. They go normal, horizontal. Okay, but they can never have height and width. Inline elements can never have height and width. Please try to understand, guys. Inline elements go in horizontal direction, but they can never have height and width. They go in horizontal direction, but they can never have height and width. Simple. That means, see, what was the problem, guys? What was the problem? Let's start it from start. For everyone who is confused, I think there are 2-3 people who are confused. Start from start again. What was the problem? Divs were block elements. Their right margin was reaching towards the end. That's why they are going in vertical direction. Cool, perfect. I want to arrange them horizontally. I want to arrange them horizontally. So what is the type of element that go horizontal? It's inline, right? Inline elements go horizontal. So I convert them to inline, but there is a problem. Inline elements can never have height and width. So if I convert my divs to inline element, they will go horizontal, but now they can never have height and width. Height and width will not work for them. So I want height and width, and I also want them to go horizontal. So there is a hybrid type called inline block, which can have height and width, but also it can go horizontal. It has features of both inline and block together. So I hope we are cleared now. It's the same thing, okay? So to the both element, like to both the elements, I simply gave inline block. Here we go. See, inline block, inline block. Okay, guys, are we clear with this? Everyone, please tell me, are we cleared? I hope we are clear with this, right? Okay. Now then, let's move ahead and let's start understanding few more things. So inline, we can go with only texture. Yeah, only text. Yes. And I think span is also, there is an element called a span. That's also an inline element. Okay. Now let's move ahead and let's see some more display things that we can do here. Okay. So now let's try to understand a bit of layouting. Yes, yes, Ankit Kumar, all these files will be shared to you. Don't worry. Okay, guys, now let's move ahead. Okay, everyone now please focus. Okay, I want everyone to focus. Now let's make it full width. Okay, but before moving ahead, I want to show you one more thing, guys. I want to show you one more thing. Okay, before moving ahead, I want to show you one more thing. This is the normal, right? This is normal. Let me remove the padding and margin and everything. Let's remove the border. Let's remove the margin. Let's remove the padding. That means the element is normal now. Okay, the element is normal. Now, if you see it clearly, you can see that now element is not having any margin, any padding. It's not having anything. But can you see there is a gap here, everyone? Can you see there is a gap here? Everyone, can you see that? There is a gap on the left and on the right. And if I give it a width of 100%, if I give it a width of 100%, that means if I make it full width, you can see there's also a gap on the right side. There's also a gap on the right side, on the top and on the left. So there's a gap. And how is this gap coming? We have not given any margin, any padding to the element. How is this gap coming? And if I go on Flipkart, you can see there is no gap. So what is the problem with our website? Because on Flipkart, there's no gap. If you go on Facebook, on Twitter, they don't have any gap. Why are we having any gap here? So that gap is nothing but it's a default. Now what guys say, that gap can be padding or margin. Anyone, come on, tell me. That gap can be a padding or margin. Guys, come on, tell me. Margin or padding? That gap can be a margin or padding. You guys tell me. Exactly, it should be a margin because it's not having any color, right? It should be a margin. It's invisible. So let's go for it and let's see who is the element that is having that margin by default, because we have not given margin to any element. So which element is having that by default margin? So let's go on the body, and here we go. We found out the culprit here, that it's nothing but the body. See, the body is having a by default margin of 8 pixel from all around. So it's the body that is having the margin. So now to remove that, we simply have to go and write, okay, fine, I got the element and now I want to clear it. So I'll go here and write body, please, I want your margin to become 0 pixel, and that's it. Here we go. And here we go. See, now that thing is gone, and now our things are going completely fine because now we have removed the margin. You can see the default margin here is removed and our margin is applied that we wrote. Okay, simple, as simple as that. Okay, now guys, one more thing. Now body is not the only element. Body is not the only element to have margin. In future, you will create a lot of elements, and a lot of elements will have margins by default. But I don't want any element to have a default margin. I don't want any element to have a default margin. Only when I give margin, they should get margin. Otherwise, they should never have a default margin. And now we solved the body issue, but in future, when we create different elements like H1, they also have default margins. And I want all the elements should have a default margin of 0. So what can I do for that? So one thing is, I can, in the start only, I can do this body, comma, H1, comma, P, comma, div, comma, I can write all the elements like this, and I can say, okay, fine, everyone should have a margin of 0. I can do this. So I can mention all the elements separated by comma, and I can say, okay, fine, I want all the elements to have a margin of 0. You can do this thing. Okay, you can mention all the elements there, and one time just say, okay, fine, I want all your margins to become 0. I want margin of all these elements to become 0. So if you're carrying a default margin, I'll make it 0. But is there a simple solution for this? What if, like, I don't remember all the elements? What if I don't have the name for all the elements? What can I do? So in that case, you have something called as asterisk, or in normal words, you call it a star. So you have something called as asterisk. And this asterisk is nothing but it's called as a universal selector. See, this is a class selector. You select a class name using this. This is a universal selector. That means it will work for all the tags. So no need to mention all the tags. If you mention this, it will work for all the tags. That means now this margin 0 pixel is applied to all the tags. H1, P, div, UL, li, image, doesn't matter. It is applied to all the tags, and that's it. We have solved the issue of default margin. So now any element that we create in future will not have a default margin. And margin is not the only problem. Few elements also have a default padding, and I also don't want that. So here we go. You can also mention, okay, fine, I also want all the elements to have a default padding of 0. That means I don't want any element to have a default padding. I want all the elements to have a padding of 0 pixel, and that's it. Solved. So this is one thing that you should mention in your CSS. This should be the first line of your CSS. Always try to keep it every time. If you want all the elements and all the elements should not have any margin or padding by default. Yes, Prashant, today is the last class, buddy. Yes. Okay. I hope it is cool now. So now everything is fine and everything works completely good. See, that's cool. Now, is that container will resize according to size of the screen means it's responsive? Yes, 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 yes. It's correct. If a container resizes according to the screen, you can say that it's responsive. Yes. If we give margin element and also set default margin, which one is applied? See, initially you said margin 0. That means now all the elements will have a margin of 0 initially when they are created. But when you apply it again it will override it. Then the margin will be applied. Is that clear, Ayush? I hope it is cleared. Does margin take any space, weight in the page? Yes, it takes space. Yes, it takes space. It will definitely take space. It's a fake size. Is that clear, Manoj? Okay. Now, guys, let's move ahead. I'm not sure about both, Nanesh. I'm not sure about flex and position both. Okay. So let's see. Let's see. Okay. One thing, guys. See, I don't think that we'll be able to cover project today because we don't have that much time. So I'll do one thing. I'll explain you flexible boxes. That means flex boxes as well as positions. I'll explain you both. Okay, because they are one of the most complex things that people find in CSS. People like find positions like really complex. So I'll do that thing. I'll explain you flex boxing and I'll also explain you positions. I'll explain you both the really important things in CSS. Please use drag and drop element if possible. Okay. Okay, so I'll do that thing. So instead of creating a project, okay, because we don't have that much time anyway, we cannot create a project. So instead of starting it and not completing it, let's do one thing. Let's cover flex boxes and let's also cover positions. Okay, let's do it. Okay, guys, now I simply want to increase the height for this element. So I want this height to be 700 pixel. Okay, so now the height is 700 pixel. Now, guys, please focus. Again, focus for the next 20 minutes and almost everything about flex boxing will be cleared for you. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so here we go. Let's go on and create a div inside it. Let's give it a class of one_child. Let's give it a class of one_child. Copy this, paste it 3 times. Basically, I want 3 elements. Difference between div and section tag. See, Deepak, both are same. Working wise, both are same. They both create boxes for you. It's just they have given you like a standards. When you want to create a big section, use section tag. When you want to create small sections, use div tags. But normally both are same. If you want, you can also avoid sections. There is no mandate to use sections. Is that cleared? I hope it is clear, Deepak. So there is no mandate or there is no rule that you have to use section. No, it's just they have given it to you. If you want, you can like for big sections use a section tag so that your code becomes easily readable. That's it. Okay. Now, guys, I have 3 elements. Both have same like all the 3 have same classes. So that means whatever CSS I apply will be applied on all the 3 elements. So let's go ahead and let's apply. So one_child. Okay. Give it a width of 200 pixels. Give it a height of 200 pixels. And also give it a background color of green. Yes, yes, Adarsh, yes, exactly. We have a JS essential again in future. I see everyone. Can you see that? Are we understanding? So now we have 3 elements going in vertical direction. Okay, again, one question, guys. It's simple, right? Why they are going in vertical direction and not in horizontal direction? Anyone? Why they are going in vertical direction and not in horizontal, even if we have the space? Come on, guys, tell me. I'm just checking you if you have understood it or not. Why they are going in vertical direction and not in horizontal direction? Come on, guys, tell me. Everyone. Bayu, Krishna, I'm asking the reason, not the solution. I'm simply asking the reason why they are going in vertical direction. Exactly. Because they are block element, right? That means they have a default right margin that is going towards the end. Is that clear? Because they are block element and that's how they get here. Okay. They are nothing but block elements. Simple. Perfect. That means now, if I want them to go in a horizontal direction, I have to simply write display inline block. So now I'm applying inline block to all these 3 elements. Okay, I'm applying inline block to all these 3 elements, and by this, they should go in horizontal direction. And that's it. Here we go. Now they are in horizontal direction, but inline block causes a little bit of gap here. And that is one really like bad problem. It can be solved easily, but that is one thing what they do. This is one thing that they do. When you do inline block, there is a little bit of gap that is there. And there's a reason to it, but don't worry, I'm not explaining that to you right now. Don't worry about it, but we'll understand that in future. Don't worry. Okay. So when you do display inline block, always remember there will be a little gap of 0.3% in between the elements. I don't want this. I don't want that gap. I don't want that gap. So is there a different way of making my things go horizontal? Is there a different way of making my elements go horizontal? So yes, there is a different and really cool and really easy way of doing it. Yes, we only gave height and width. Yes. So now guys, we are trying to understand what is the different way by which we can make our elements go horizontal without that gap and without using display inline block. Do we have anything else that will make them go horizontal without causing that gap and without using display inline block? Is there anything else? So yes, there is something. Okay, and now for this, what you have to do is you have to go in your parent. Now these green elements are one child and the parent is the red one, that is one. So you have to go in your parent. You have to go in your parent, and then where is my parent? Yeah. Remove the inline block from the parent. We don't need it right now. And tell your parent to have a display of flex. Tell your parent to have a display of flex. So now, if your parent is having a display of flex, the child will by default go in horizontal direction. Or you can also call it a row direction. Horizontal or row. Vertical or column. Same. So when you give your parent a display of flex, the child will by default go in a horizontal direction. And see now, here we go. And now we also don't have that gap. So that is one amazing thing. The gap issue is resolved. And now I can give gap according to my concern. There is no default gap. So guys, are we cleared with this? Everyone. So to the parent, you have to give display of flex and the child will go in horizontal direction by default. Or you can also call it a row direction. And let me just increase the height and width actually. Let's say 300, 300. Okay, so that's what display flex does. And remember, display flex is given to the parent. Okay, display inline block is given to the element, directly the child element when you want to move it, when you want to make it horizontal. So display inline block is given to the element to which you want to make it horizontal, or on the element which you want to make it horizontal. But display flex is always given to the parent. So if you have three elements and you want to make them horizontal, you have to give display flex to the parent of that three elements. So remember it, display flex is always given to the parent. And by default, the direction of flex is horizontal, or you can also call it row direction. You can also call it row direction. Now, can I change the direction? Can I change the direction? Yes, obviously. There's a property again in the parent that is called as flex direction. And you can apply column. By default, row was the direction. So if you want to change it, you can say flex direction column. And now see, the elements are going in column direction. And don't worry, that's how it is. So, but I want row. So if you want row, either you can write row or don't write anything at all, because by default it's also row. So here we go. So I want to know what is the role of mean and MERN in web development, and after HTML, CSS, and JS, what should I learn to become a full stack developer? We can't give flex from the beginning for first block. For first, you mean what exactly? Because we have given flex to the first block only. One is our first block, right? So we have given to that only. See, the red element. We have given flex to the red element only, to the parent, and the green elements are aligning accordingly. And for your answer, Gunjan, the role is, see, mean and MERN are nothing but they are like your technologies in which you can perform full stack development, right? So either you can choose mean path where you learn Angular, either you can choose MERN path where the difference is React. But yes, if you want to become full stack developer and if you already know HTML, CSS, and JS, I would suggest you to first learn the backend now. Go for Node.js or go for PHP. But I would suggest you to go for Node.js because you already know JS. So Node.js will be simpler for you. So learn backend first. Okay, so go for Node.js and MongoDB, learn the backend, it's really simple. And then again come back and learn a front-end framework because you already know JavaScript, so it will be easier for you to learn React or Angular. So if you learn React, you'll simply become a MERN stack developer. Or if you learn Angular, if you simply become a mean stack developer. Or you can learn both because they're almost same. So you can go for it. Why don't you go for Bootstrap? So simple, because Bootstrap is a framework that we do we didn't want to use it. Simple. What am I saying? I don't understand. We never wanted to use it here. We are learning the basics of CSS, and you will understand Bootstrap only if you know CSS, right? JS Tuts. If you don't understand CSS, how will we understand Bootstrap? Because it's a CSS framework. And if you want to manipulate Bootstrap or if you want to do anything like that, you still need to know CSS, right? JS Tuts. So that's why we didn't go for Bootstrap. Because first we should know CSS to learn Bootstrap. And if you know CSS, you don't even need Bootstrap. Sir, when will you teach backend? In some time. I think in the next week, we are planning to have a Node.js essential session. Okay. UI UX is part of web development. Mohit Garge, UI UX is part of the web development. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. Okay. If you want to make flex in vertical, then we simply use inline. If you want to make flex in vertical, then you simply change the direction to column. Faisal, you simply change the direction to column. Is that cleared? Okay, guys, now let's move ahead. Okay, now let's move ahead. So flex direction, you know, by default, it is row. So once you give display flex, the direction is by default row, but you can convert it to column anytime you want. Now, what if I want to create gaps in them? What if I want to create gaps in them? So one thing is you can go for margin. But is there a better solution than margin? Yes, there is. What you can do is, again, go in your parent and write. Now, before moving on to creating gaps, I want to make sure that you know one thing. I want to make sure that you know one important thing. Now remember guys, you know that flex is working in two directions, in row, in column. Okay, in row, in column. Now one thing to understand here, when your flex direction is row, x becomes your main axis, and y, that means column, becomes your cross axis. Please remember it guys, please remember it. When your direction is row, that means if it is horizontal, you know horizontal is nothing but x. So when your direction is row, x is your main axis and y is your cross axis. And when your direction is column, x is your cross axis and y is your main axis. Remember these two things, and flexbox will never be tougher for you, because these are the two things where people get confused. So remember, when your direction is row, x is your main and y is your cross. Okay, not a problem, JS Studs, buddy, not a problem. It's totally fine, buddy. But I hope you understood, okay? That's really cool that you understood. That's amazing, JS Studs. Totally fine. Okay? So now, guys, please remember, row, when your direction of flexbox is row, x is your main axis, y is your cross axis. And when your direction is column, x is your cross axis and y is your main axis. Are we understanding, everyone? Why I'm explaining this, you'll understand in some time. Don't worry. So now, there's a property called justify content. There is a property called justify content, which helps you to align and arrange your content. But justify content always works with main axis. Remember, justify content always works with main axis. So if the direction is row, it will work with x axis. If the direction is column, justify content will start working for y axis. Okay, so don't ever fit in your mind justify content will always work for x axis. No, a lot of people who are already developers think of it like this, that justify content is always for x. No, justify content is for main. So if the direction is row, it will work for x. If the direction is column, it will work for y. But now what it is doing, so let's see. You can do this. Justify content, by default it is flex start. That means your elements are at the start. You can also do this. See, justify content center. See now what will happen. Here we go. All my elements move to center. I have 3 elements and all of them move to center. You can also do this. Justify content flex end. Here we go. You can easily move your elements. Okay, so flex start, that is by default, center, and then flex end. What if I want to create gaps? You can also use justify content. You have something called as space between. See, now there is a gap between the elements, and they are equal gaps. They are equal gaps. So first element, then space, then second element, then space, and then third element. Space between. So flex start, center, flex end, and space between. You also have something called as space around. In this, what will happen? You will also have the initial spaces and the end space. So around spaces plus between spaces, both are there now. So space here, space, space, space. So start space, then gaps between the elements, and then at the end you have space. Is that clear, everyone? So this is space around. But now you can see the spaces are not common because the between spaces are common, but the around spaces are smaller than the between spaces. So what if I want equal spaces everywhere in the around and in the between? Again, you have simple space evenly, the final thing. And here we go. Now they are perfectly divided. Here also, in between also, and at the end also. So simple, flex start, flex end, center, space around, space between, space evenly. Simple way of creating spaces. The simplest way of creating spaces, actually. Normally, if you don't use flex boxing, you have to use margins to create spaces. And you understand it's also easy, but it becomes a little complex if you have multiple elements. In that case, flexbox helps a lot. Flexboxing helps you a lot. Are we cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Please tell me, are we cleared with this? Okay. Now, let's see the next one. That is align items. And remember, align items always works for cross axis. In this case, it is Y because my direction is row. By default, the direction is row. So currently the direction is row. So align items will work for cross axis. That is Y. Let's see. Align items center. Let's go for it. And here we go. See, on the Y axis, the elements are in center. If I do align items X end. Here we go. Simple. Okay. So that's how you have to understand this. That's how you have to understand this. And that's this simple. It is this simple, actually. Let me decrease the size of the element so that I can show you something else as well. Okay, let me decrease it because I want to show you something else. So now they are like 100 pixels. So they are really small. Don't worry about them. Now, what I want to do is I want to change the direction. Okay, so let me just comment this out now, first of all. Now I want to change the direction. So flex direction column. Okay, let's see. Now the direction is column. So now, if the direction is column, Y becomes your main axis and X becomes your cross axis. Guys, remember that. Now Y becomes your main axis. That means now justify content will work for what? Justify content will work for always the main axis. So now it will work for Y axis. Let's see. Here we go. See, now it's working like this. Because now our main axis is Y because we have flex direction column. And now align items will work for X axis, like in the row way. Let's see. See, now it's putting it there. So I hope you guys understood justify content and align items clearly, because this is where people get really confused. I really hope that you understood justify content and align items clearly. Okay, so remember, if the direction is row, justify content always for main, align items always for cross. If the direction is main, you have to understand it according to the direction, actually, not main. Sorry. So if the direction is row, justify content will go for X. If the direction is column, justify content will go for Y, always for the main axis. Exactly, BN1316, exactly. Okay, but both are looking same? No. Previously, align items was working in Y direction like this. Now align items is working in this direction. Right, Manoj Kumar? Previously, align items was moving my elements from top to bottom. Now align items is moving my element from left to right. See that? See this? It's in the left. It's in the center. And finally, it's in the end. Like this. Okay, that's cool. Where to start? Manasi, if you want to become a backend developer, so you can always start with JavaScript. So first learn the basics of JavaScript, and then you can go for Node.js. Okay, and also a database is important, so you can learn MongoDB. Or if you don't like JavaScript, you can go for PHP. You can start learning PHP, and then you can also learn MySQL database simply, and then you can start. So that's how you start. Okay, so one database is important and one backend language. So either go for JavaScript and also learn MongoDB as your database, or also MySQL also works because you can also connect Node.js to MySQL. Or you can go for PHP for your backend language. If the direction is row, the direction is x-axis. If the direction is column, the direction is y-axis. If the direction is row, x is main. If the direction is column, y is main. I hope you like. I know that you understood Sangamesh, but the problem is You wrote it incorrectly. So if the direction is row, X is main. If the direction is column, Y is main. Simple. And justify content, always go for main. Remember it. Okay, now that's cool. So see, we have still like some more properties in flexboxing, but I think this much will be enough for you guys to start in the essentials, because we only have like 15 to 10 minutes now, and I also want you to make like I also want you guys to understand positions. Okay, if I know PHP, is it compulsory to learn JavaScript also? See, it's not compulsory. If you only want to become a backend developer, you can always go for PHP and database. It's not compulsory, but it's a good thing to have. If you know JavaScript, you can actually extend your possibilities. You can actually extend your skills. Then you can also learn Node.js. Then you'll be knowing two backend languages. So you can also work with Node.js. You can also work with PHP. So it's just like, it's not mandatory, but if you know it, it will give you a good thing. Okay. You changing in parent but applying in child now. How? Flexboxing works like that only, Kirti. That is something I explained in the start only. Flexboxing works like that. Flexboxing, you write main properties in the parent and it works on the child. It works with the child. Okay. So now guys, see, I'm telling you that there are few more things in flexboxing to understand. But now if you go on online, if you go on Google, you'll be understanding it really simply, because now you know the basics. You know the main properties. So the other properties are really simple. You'll understand it very simply. Okay. So now you have the start of flexboxing. Janak Avasthi, please don't spam the chat, buddy. Please don't spam the chat. Okay. If you have any doubt, you can go ahead and ask, buddy, but please don't spam the chat. Okay. Okay, now guys, see, I'm telling you that now you know the basics of flexboxing. And if you want to know more, you can go on Google and you'll easily understand it. Don't worry, because now you have the starter. Now you know the important things. Okay. Now let's move on to the next thing. That is positioning. One of the properties that people find a lot complicated. One of the properties that people find complicated. Let's do it and let's see how actually easy it is. Okay. Let's try to understand it. So okay, let me create a new page actually. Let it be like this only. Let it be like this. Let me create a new page for you. Okay. Let's create a new page. And I'll write internal CSS because we are not going to have a big CSS. So let's write internal CSS. So let me name it like position. So position dot HTML. Yes, it's also good, Kunal. Why not, buddy? See, normally I don't use Python as a backend developer because I develop backend things in Node.js and PHP. But yes, Python is also a really cool option. No, if you're becoming a backend developer, a little knowledge of HTML and CSS will help, but you don't have to like know it completely because you're not a designer. But yes, a little knowledge will obviously help. And yes, guys who are learning PHP, I would suggest you also to learn the frameworks of PHP. Try to learn Laravel. So if you're only a PHP developer, go for Laravel. Don't settle with normal PHP. Go for the Laravel framework. Everyone who knows PHP. And if you know Laravel, that's amazing. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. Okay, so let's write the basic HTML. And right now we don't need this meta tags. So why I'm copying this here? We don't need the meta tags. So let me just remove it. Okay, now guys, please, for the next 10 minutes, please focus and you'll understand everything about positions. For the next 10 minutes, please focus. So let's go for positions. Coordinator, yes, you can go for it, but I think currently the Laravel is like really in trend. That's why I just suggested that. But yes, coordinator is also fine. You can go for it. Why not? It's again one more framework. So you can go for it. Vue.js, why not? But it's a front-end framework. It's not a back-end framework, right, Vijay? So yes, Vue.js is also really great. You can learn it. Why not, buddy? It's a competitor of React. So obviously you can learn it. Kanath, Kanna Mahi, when will you start JavaScript? In some time, yeah, maybe in some weeks. So don't worry about it, Kanna. Don't worry. Just be on the LetsUpgrade community, sign up there, be in the community. Whatever essentials are coming up, you will be informed. And you can also join our advanced courses where we learn everything from the scratch. All the things, complete web development from scratch with a lot of projects. So always create playlist of whatever you teach on YouTube because it becomes difficult to get your videos after the live session. Okay, Deepak. Okay, I'll tell like this exact thing to my team. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'll discuss it with my team. Okay, guys. So now my CSS is not going to be that long. So I'm not writing any external CSS. I hope you understand this. So for this particular file, I'm simply going to write internal CSS. Okay. Now, everyone, you guys have to focus. If you want to understand positions, you have to focus, because you don't know a lot of CSS and we are directly jumping to positions. Okay, we don't know a lot of CSS and we are directly jumping to positions. So now you have to focus. Okay, everyone, please focus. So let me create a div first. Okay, and let me give it a class of like main. You can give any class. Let's style it. So dot main. Okay, first of all, the first thing that we forgot, asterisk, initial margin 0 pixels, initial padding 0 pixels. And then we go to main. Now let's give it a height. It's JavaScript backend or front end, both. Before 2009, it was only front end, but now it's backend and front end both. Suraj Fahim. So if you know JavaScript, you don't need any other language. You can write front end, backend both. Okay. So height of 500 pixels or maybe 700 pixels, and width of 400 pixels. Guys, please, you guys have to focus. Everyone, please focus. And let's give it a background color of red. Let's see if we can see it now. Copy the path, go in your browser, and here we go. Cool, perfect. So now we have the div. I want to give it a little margin so that it's at least away from the borders of the screen. So let's add a little bit of margin. So I simply want to give it a margin of 100 pixels. Simple. So now it's here. And I don't want this background color. I want to give it a border. That's all. So comment the background color and simply give it a border. So border of, let's say 5 pixel, solid black. And that's cool. Okay, everyone. So guys, are we clear with this, everyone? We just created a simple div. Everyone, I just want to like know, are you guys here? Everyone, please tell me, just give me a yes. Everyone, are we here? Are we understanding whatever I'm doing? I'm going to explain you positions now. So please focus. So just give me a yes. Just give me a yes if you're here, everyone. Sir, but Python is easy than PHP. It's not like, yes, it's simple in terms of syntax, but the concept is same everywhere. And PHP is also really easy. In terms of backend development, PHP is one of the most easiest languages. Okay, in terms of backend development, PHP is one of the most easiest languages. So don't worry. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. Now, inside that element, I'm going to create few more elements. Okay, inside that element, I'm going to create few more elements. So let's just give it a class of 1. I'm going to create 3 elements. I give it a class of 2, and I give it a class of 3. Okay, cool. So why we use meta cat certificate? Don't worry. At the end, because I think a lot of people have asked it, at the end of the session, I'll explain you what exactly is meta. Don't only worry about cat certificate. I'll explain you what exactly is meta at the end of today's session. Which one is good SQL or Mongo? Both are fine. Both are good. It's just 2 different types of database, so you don't have to compare them. Right? If you're good with JavaScript and objects, you can go for MongoDB. And SQL is also really cool. It's a relational database. You can do a lot of bigger things in SQL. Okay, so like they have their own benefits and disadvantages. So both are fine actually, because I have worked with both and both are fine. And according to different needs, sometimes people go for MongoDB, sometimes people go for MySQL or SQL Server, whatever it is. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. So now I have 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3, and let's style it. Okay, so dot 1, a simple height of 100 pixel and a width of 100 pixel and a background color of red. Okay, now let's copy this and let's also apply some CSS for 2. Not in this, Wasik Khan, buddy, not in this, because we don't have that much time, right? Today is the last session, so we are unable to make a project in this session. So in future, maybe we'll extend the time of our essentials. We'll make it like 4 days or 5 days, and at that time we'll really make really cool projects. Right now we only have 3 days. Okay, Hamad, I'll try to do that. Yes, I know that, buddy. Yeah, it becomes confusing. Exactly. In between the explanation, I start answering the questions, right? Yeah, cool. So that's a really good suggestion, Hamad. Don't worry. Yes, I'll follow that. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. Let's make it green. And so guys, for some time, please hold your doubts. Please ask your doubt at the end, everyone. because you will get confused if I keep explaining both the things at same time. I also understood that actually. Okay, so let's say blue. Okay, now see, we have all the three elements. You can also increase the height and width a little if you want, like, so that it like can see it properly. So 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, and 200. Here we go. Okay, so now I hope it is cleared. Now let's move on to something called as positions. And also I want to open the box model because I want to show you something. So I also want to open the box model because I really want to show you something. So let me go on the second element, that is 2, because that's where I'm going to apply my position. So here is the box model of the second element. Okay, here is the box model of the second element. Height and width 200 and no padding, no border, no margin. Perfect. There's a right margin, you know that because it's a block element, but don't worry about it. Okay, cool. Now guys, let's move ahead. Now remember guys, every element has a position by default, but it's considered negligible because the by default position that an element has is static. So every element that you create has a position of static by default, and that's a negligible position. It does nothing. Okay, it does nothing. Now let's go on the second element and let's give it a position. But now see, remember guys, by default it's static. Okay, so now I'm going to give it a position different than static. So the first position that I'm going to explain you is this position relative. Now what does position relative actually does? It says that the element on which I'm applying position, it will be positioned according to its original place. So whenever you give position relative to any element, normally nothing will happen because that element is positioned according to its original place. Whenever you give position relative, the element is positioned according to its original place. So wherever it was, it will be there only. That's it. If you want to see, let's refresh, and here we go. Here we go. See, the element is still there. But can you guys see any changes somewhere after applying positions? Can you see any changes anywhere, guys? Tell me. Can you guys see any changes anywhere in the screen? Tell me, guys. Come on. I want to see. Are you watching it? Are you watching my screen properly? No, there is no error occurred. Where is error? There is no error. No changes? Are you sure? That means you're only watching the elements. Watch the box model. Can you see now there is one more thing added? There is one more thing added. A position, like an extra box to it. An extra thing to it called as position. And this is only applied when you apply a position to an element. And right now you can see on the top, on the left, on the right, and on the bottom, it is completely zero because it's fine. Because this element, whenever you give position relative, the element does nothing. It's always positioned according to its original place. And that's why the top, left, right, bottom, everything of that position is zero because it is positioned according to its original place. So no harm to it. So normally relative does nothing. Relative does almost nothing if you look at it. But position is added and you have this extra thing: top, right, bottom, and left. I hope we are cleared with this. Okay, I really hope we are cleared with this. And it's everything is zero because there is no movement, there's nothing happening to it. But you have only one thing: this property is now activated, and this property is called top, right, bottom, and left. If you want to see, you can see this. See, now I can do this on it. I can go ahead and say left 200 pixels. Now see what will happen. Everyone see, I can move the element. I can actually move the element. See now, I added 200 position to the left, and that element moved by 200 from the left. Is that cleared, everyone? Are we cleared? And I can also move it from the top. So I can say top 30 pixel. So now a top position of 30 will be added. And see, I can move it. Everyone see? Now on here we have added 30. Don't worry about these negative ones. Don't worry about them right now. Just remember that we are adding something. It's a default that it is doing. So don't worry about these negative values. Right now, don't worry about these negative values. Okay, so I can simply move the element by using left and top. And normally we go for only left and top if you want to move the element. Let's not say 400. Let's say we only move 100 from here and 50 from here. See, can you see it's going over the blue element? Everyone, can you see it's going over the blue element? Because it is moving completely free. It is moving completely free. So whenever you apply position to any element, remember it comes out of the flow. So whatever is the flow, like this, like for example, is if this was the flow, I hope you can see it, right? If this was the flow, it is out of the flow. Now it has a complete free movement over the elements. If it is in the flow, if it moves, all the other elements also will move. But now it is completely moving freely. That's what position does. It makes your element come out of the flow. So that is what relative is. So first thing to remember that whenever you give position, the element comes out of flow. Second, when you give it relative, it's positioned according to its original place, and you can move it using left, top, and everything, the position properties. So are we cleared, everyone? Yes, we access that one element, not color. We are accessing that color because we have only given position to that particular element, right? To element. Okay, because we have only given position to that particular element. See, why I'm saying this, that it is completely out of flow, because see, if I don't give position, everyone please focus. If I don't give position, it's normal. And now let's try to use margin to move it. Let's use margin actually. We know that margin is not a movement, right? It's an extra size. So that's why if you like try it, if I give it a margin of top of 30 pixel, see, like it hurts the next element. It also hampers the next element. But when you give positions, that will not happen. It's completely out of the flow. It is moving freely. And you can use left and top instead of margins to move it, because you know margin is not a movement. Margin is nothing but an extra size. So you can go for it. Okay, guys, are we clear with this? Are we clear with this? Now you see it is moving freely. It is not hampering blue. It is moving freely over the blue. So remember, whenever you give position, it comes out of the flow. Remember that one thing. Any position, relative and any other, it will come out of flow. One thing. And also, this thing will be applied. And then you have the access to left, top, right, and bottom. Now, let's see the next one. Okay. So now I hope understood. When you give position relative, it is positioned according to its original place. That means there is no movement by default. Okay. Now, let's remove this left and top and let's see the next one. So the next position that we have is position absolute. Now what absolute says? Relative is like I will position according to my own place. Let me write it somewhere so that you can have it. Let me write it somewhere. Full stack developer is someone that creates backend and front end both, Manas. Okay. Now let's go ahead. So relative, I'll write the definition actually. So relative positioned according to original place. It's your original place. Now the next is we are learning absolute. What is absolute? Now I see. When you give absolute, the element is positioned according to the nearest positioned ancestor or parent. So whenever you give position absolute, that element will always be positioned according to the nearest positioned ancestor. That means if I have multiple parents, whichever parent is having a position property applied, I will position according to that. So if you give me position absolute, I will be positioned according to any of my parent who is having position. And if any of my parent is not having position, I will directly be positioned according to the viewport or the screen, directly to the viewport. That's what absolute says. So absolute says if you give absolute, I will be positioned according to nearest positioned ancestor or the nearest parent who is having a position. Otherwise, or if any of my ancestor, if any of my parent is not having a position, I will be directly go to viewport. I'll directly go to viewport or the screen. Done. Or directly to viewport. Simple. Now let's check it. Let's check it. Am I stuck? Is it stuck? Are you sure it is stuck? Everyone is it stuck? Okay, guys, now please focus, everyone. Guys, please focus. Please focus. Okay. Now I'm giving position absolute, and now let's see what is happening. Everyone, please focus. Okay. See, guys, please focus. I refresh it. Now, first of all, it's out of the flow. First of all, it's out of the flow. It has left its original place. Now the green element has left its original place. That's why the blue element is at the green element's place. But you can see the green element is not moving. The green element is not moving. So according to what it is positioned. So first thing, we are applying position. That means it is out of flow. And when you give absolute, it also leaves its original place. That's why the blue element that was on the bottom, now it's in the place of green. And green element is out of the flow. But one really important thing that is happening here is it is still at its original place. Why is that? Why is it still at its original place? Let's see. It's just for you. It is there, it's just for you so that you don't get confused. Basically, browser maintains it at its original place. But you can see there is a top of 305 applied. That means the browser is forcing it to be there. If you make it 0, you will see according to what it is getting positioned. Make top 0 and left 0. And then you will see according to what it is actually getting positioned. So you have to make everything 0 to see according to what it is getting positioned. So let's save it and see. It's going towards the screen. Because right now, my green element is getting positioned according to the viewport. Is that clear? Because there is no parent who is having a position. Any of the parent is not having a position. So guys, if you ever want to see a real position, if you ever want to see the real position of the element, always make left and top 0. And that's when you will find out the real position. And currently, I made left and top 0, and you can see right now it is getting to the screen because it is getting positioned according to the viewport to the screen. Are we cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Everyone, please tell me, are we cleared? Guys? Okay. And you know, right, why it is going to the screen? Because right now, there is no parent that is having position. Now, what if, now see, who is the parent for this? Who is the parent for 2, guys? Can you tell me? Anyone? Who is the parent for 2? Who is the parent of this 2 element? Come on, guys, everyone. Who is the parent of this 2 element? Who is the parent of this 2 element? Main, right? So what if I give a position to the main? So let's go ahead and let's give a position, and let's give a position that will not hurt anyone. So the position is what? Relative, because relative is a position that never hurts anyone. So simply give relative. Now my 2 element, no, 1 is not the parent. Some people are saying 1. How can 1 be the parent? 1 is sibling. They are having same parent, right? Now guys, so now I have given position to the main element. That means now my parent is having position. So if my parent is having position, I will be positioned according to the parent. Now let's see if it is working. And here we go. Now see, now the green element is getting positioned according to the parent. You can see the left and top are 0. And you can still find it inside main. That means now it is getting positioned according to the parent. Okay, now it was only one parent. If I have multiple parents and if my grandparent has position, I will position according to that. Remember the definition, nearest positioned ancestor. That means I don't care. It can be my parent, it can be my grandparent, it can be my great grandparent. If any of them is having position, I will go there. If my parent is not having, but my grandparent is having, I will go to my grandparent. If my parent is not having, grandparent is not having, if great grandparent is having, I will go there. And if any one of my parents is not having, I'll directly go to the screen. So how blue move on green position? Explain. Because green is out of the flow. Like this, see. Think of it like this. Yes, nearest parent, exactly, Bayu Krishna. But we don't call it nearest parent because parent is only one. That's why we're calling it ancestor. Right? Because parent is only one. The other one is grandparent. That's not my parent. That's why I'm calling ancestor. Okay, simple. Yes, Abhishek, I'll tell you at the end. Now, guys, see, why is green going there? Because when you give absolute, see, it goes like this. First element, second element, and third element, right? They're in line. I remove the second element out of the flow. So the gap is left. So the third element goes there because the second element is out of the flow. So when you give it absolute, it comes out of the flow and it also leaves its original position. In relative, it will come out of the flow, but it will not leave its original position. In absolute, it will come out of the flow and it will also leave its original position. Exactly, yes. Exactly, Sangamesh, you're correct. Not having parents, so directly go to viewport. Exactly. It's the same thing. If I don't have any parent, I'll directly go to viewport. Yes, obviously. And if I have parent and they have position, I will go to them. And if I have parent but they don't have position, I'll still go to viewport. Okay. Now let's see last position for today. That is again very important. That is position fixed, which is exactly like absolute. It's out of the flow. It leaves its original position. But there are two more catches to it. The catch is when you give position fixed, no matter how many parents I have, no matter how many parents have position, when you give position fixed, I will always be positioned according to viewport. I don't care. I will always be positioned according to the viewport. So when you give position fixed, it is always positioned according to viewport. See here. We know that the parent is having position, right? We know that main is actually having position. But the problem is, not the problem, the thing is, if you give position fixed, I don't care if my parent is having position. I will be always positioned according to the viewport. So fixed will always go towards the viewport. So are we cleared, everyone? See this. Here we go. See. Now it's directly to the viewport. Vandana is asking in absolute, it leaves its position and go to which position? It goes to either a viewport or the nearest positioned ancestor. Okay. Vandana, it either goes to the viewport or to the nearest position ancestor if it is absolute. And if it is fixed, it will always go to the viewport. I'll write it here. Yeah, it's simple. Fixed, always go to viewport. That's it. Simple. So these are the three main positions that you have. And there is one really cool thing about fixed. There is one really cool thing about fixed. See this. If I increase the height of the main, basically to get the scroll bar. So let's say I increase the height of the main to like 1200 pixels or 12,000, or let's say 1500 pixels. Okay. Exactly. Yes, Hamad Rafiq. Exactly. But there is one more thing to fixed. There is one more difference in absolute and fixed. See this. Now, guys, I have a scroll bar. Okay. Now, see what fixed will do. See, my elements are scrolling, but whatever element is having a position of fixed, it will never scroll. So when you give position fixed to an element, there is one more thing that is applied, that it will never scroll with the page. It's fixed. And now you know how all the things are added. Is that clear, everyone? So in relative, comes out of the flow, but never leaves its original position. And it is always positioned according to its original place. Absolute, come out of the flow, leave original position, and get positioned according to the viewport or to the nearest position ancestor. In fixed, come out of the flow, leave original position, and directly go to the viewport. Okay, and also don't get scrolled. Is that clear? No, no, green is not scrolling. Green is not scrolling. It's not at all scrolling. Yes, Faisal, I'm also going to teach JavaScript in future. I don't know about Python, but yes, I'm surely going to teach JavaScript in future. So don't worry. No, Suraj, green is fixed. It's not scrolling. It is fixed. You can see the other elements are scrolling. The green is fixed. Is that cleared? If I move it down, you can see that. See, if I move the green one down a little, I give it like top of 300 pixel, it will come down. Now see, the green is there only. It's not scrolling. Okay. I hope it is clear. I'm a second year student. I want to become Java developer. We go Python or Java. Go for both. If you're in second year, you have opportunities. Go for both. It's like go for Java mainly if you want to become a Java developer specially. But yes, also learn Python. That will be really helpful. Yes, position fixed is used to create the fixed nav bars that you see on the top. You see, right? Things like this. When I go to again Flipkart, let's say I like always go to Flipkart when I want to give examples. See this? Guys, see this blue bar? If I scroll the page, that blue bar does not go up. Why is that happening? Because that blue bar is having a position of fixed. Simple. That's why it's not going up. It's not going with the scroll. Is that clear, everyone? It's by default added by the browser. It's by default added by the browser to maintain the element's position. Ajay Singh, Don't worry about that. Is that cleared? Okay. So guys, I really hope you're cleared with relative, absolute, and fixed. And some people are also asking about sticky. I'll give you a definition actually, because we are like almost at the end of the time. So I'll give you a definition. Sticky is simply the combination of fixed and relative. Okay. And by this definition, you can actually go on internet and you can easily find it out. It's really simple to understand it. Okay. It's relative, and at one time you can make it become fixed. Okay. That's how it works. And guys, this is not the only CSS. This is like the few fundamentals of CSS. There is still a lot of CSS left, and in future we'll definitely do it. Don't worry. Okay. How do you add URL links to HTML text? Simple. You have a tag for it. You simply have a tag for it, an anchor tag. See, like this. You simply go and you can add a tag. So a tag, write anything like click to go to Google in HTML text, and inside this a you can put an href and simply put the link where you want to go. So in our case, I want to go to https://www.google.co.in. I want to go here. So simple. Here, you have to put the link. In href, you simply have to put the link, okay, and the text inside a tag, and that's it. See? And now click on this. I go to Google. Simple. So that's how you create a link. Yes, you can give height in percentage, but that depends on the need. Normally we avoid it, but yes, you can definitely give it. Akhil Chobe, you can definitely give height in percentage. Why not? You can give it. It's fine. But again, it depends on the situation. Okay. What is the difference between Java and JavaScript and Java? It's completely different. Just like you have Java and C#, they're completely different languages. So JavaScript is a different language and Java is a different language. Simple. Basically, JavaScript is mostly for web. Okay, nowadays we also create like backends of web. Okay, and Java is for like different kinds of applications. You can also create desktop applications. You can also create web applications in Java. But exactly, just like you have C and C++, you have C and Python, different languages, and for different purposes. Okay, yes, finally, I think some people were asking about meta, right? I'll tell you what is meta. Okay, see, meta is nothing but a tag that contains extra information or metadata about your HTML page. Like for example, you saw one meta, right? Meta, and you wrote char set UTF-8. So this meta is basically telling what? This meta is telling the browser that fine, the char set that this page is following, the encoding that this web page is following is UTF-8. And right now, almost all the digital documents are following UTF-8. Okay. So this meta tag basically holds extra information about the web page. That's it. Meta tag basically holds the extra information about the web page. And about this meta is simply telling me that okay, fine, the char set of this page, the character encoding of this page is UTF-8. We are following UTF-8 encoding. Simple. So meta is nothing but an a way of writing extra information of that page so that the servers and the browser can understand it. Simple. And you have different kinds of meta for different purposes. You have different kinds of meta for different purposes. This meta is for telling the character set or the character encoding that this page is using. Okay, you have a meta where you can mention what kind of width should be considered. You have a meta where you can write what kind of keywords to search if I want this page on Google. So you have different metas for different things. But the general purpose of meta is to hold extra information related to this page. Like for example, there is one meta in which you write like this: name equals what you write keywords, and content equals, you put all the keywords here like web, position, whatever you want, you can put it there. Now you put your keywords. Now this meta helps the search engines. The search engines come to your web page and read your meta to understand, like, if whatever the user is searching, is your meta matching it, is your information is matching, if you, is your keyword matching, and if your keyword matches, I'll take you as my search result to that particular user. So this meta is to basically, this meta is used for SEO purposes, so that the search engine can understand for which keywords your page should be selected. Yes, yes, it won't show on the page. Why? It's just a head. We know that, right? Whatever you write in head, it never shows on the page. We learned it on the first day, right? Head is only for the extra information, and that's why we write meta in head, because it holds the extra information. Yes, Harshika, in some time we have a Node.js session. So be on the community. We are gonna give you the date announcement of Node.js. We're gonna learn it. Okay. Some more example for meta. There are multiple metas. You have a meta for working with the width. So don't worry. Like when you start development, you don't need meta. Meta is only needed when you launch the website. So don't worry. At that time, you'll get it. Don't worry about that right now. Don't worry about that right. Because when you are simply developing, when you're a beginner, you don't need to like write metas in your page. When you launch it, that's where when you write your meta. So don't worry about it right now. Yes, Gaurav, I teach full stack. You can join our advanced courses where I teach everything from start to end. I teach the complete full stack there. Complete full stack. Starting from HTML, CSS to the very end, where we create like 15 plus projects and a lot of different things to complete backends. Yes, so Gaurav, you can simply go on letsupgrade.in and from there you can enroll our course and also get the all information about the courses. Two fields of validation means, Aditya, you simply have to add required. That's all. You simply had to add required. Okay, Aditya? Yes, Abhishek, definitely in future. Why not, buddy? Yes, definitely. I'll make a crash course for Flexbox. Why not? Okay. And now we are like 8:30, so we are like almost above time because our time was 7:30 to 7:45, and now we are at 8:30. So don't worry, guys, about all your advanced doubts or future doubts. Don't worry. I'll come again in different essential session and I'll solve everything for you. But now at least I have given you the kickstart for CSS and HTML, and now you can start learning it because now you at least know the basics of HTML and CSS, and now you can actually start learning things. Okay, everyone. So I really hope that everything is clear to you, and I really hope that you enjoyed the session a lot. So everyone, please tell me, did you enjoy the 3-day session and did you learn something? Did you find it valuable? Please tell me in the chats, everyone, right? So that I can be happy, like I actually taught some people. So please, everyone, tell me in the chat, did you guys enjoy the session in the last 3 days? And did you understand everything? Did you learn something? Please tell me in the chat, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Yes, I can see it now. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for understanding everything. And thank you so much for spending 2.5 hours with me. That was amazing. Okay. And one more announcement, guys. From tomorrow, we are actually starting with Flutter. That is a mobile application development like framework, you can call it. Okay, a hybrid framework. So tomorrow, we are starting with Flutter Essentials. And if you want to learn about how to create apps, you can get all the basics in the next 3 days and you can join in tomorrow. So tomorrow at the same time at 6 p.m. we are starting with Flutter Essentials, in which I'm going to show you how to create mobile apps for Android and iOS both. Is that clear, everyone? So I really hope to see all of you in Flutter, and please also tell your friends and everyone to join in with you so that they can also learn. So tomorrow we are going to start with Flutter. Okay, and I really hope to see all of you there. Okay. And guys, don't worry for the people whose doubt like I was unable to solve. Don't worry. Maybe in future sessions when you come again, I'll solve all your doubts. And in future sessions, we're also going to learn a lot of different things. Okay. So don't worry, guys. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for learning everything. And that's it for today. And the assignment will be posted on the community group. So the group link is in the chat. The assignment and today's files will be posted on the group. So you can find out the assignment there and you can find out the group, or you can find out the daily files there also. Okay. And last date for assignment submission is 14th August. Yep, it's 14th August. So last day for assignment submission is 14th August. Okay, guys. So please submit your assignments by 14th. Okay, you can complete all of it and submit it by 14th. Okay, and guys, thank you so much everyone for being there, and I hope to see you in the Flutter Essentials as well. So that's it for today, guys. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Good night. Have a great night, everyone. Bye bye.